Hey guys, Rorius here. I'm finally here. I looked at the last time that I streamed and it was like almost literally a month ago. I do apologize. I don't mean to have such gaps. Is my internet okay? I dropped a few frames. I'm dropping a few frames. You're kidding me. Oh, I do apologize. That's coming up on the mic. I've got my I have an ice maker that I usually turn off for these streams. I'm dropping frames. What the heck? I have my fancy new internet and I'm dropping frames. I can't believe it. Ah. But yeah, welcome to the stream. I appreciate you being here. Um I'll keep an eye on that cuz that shouldn't be happening. That's ridiculous. Yeah. And it's moments like these that make me think like it can't be uh it couldn't be my internet. It's got to be either my ISP, like the service provider, not being a good service, or YouTube. Mm. I literally have a modem with like modern updated, like it's like a $400 modem, although like that'd be like 250 American dollars. Um, and like the fastest internet cable I could get. I have yearned for the mines. I have. I saw last night. I went and saw the Minecraft movie. I knew this was gonna come up. I was like, this is gonna come up right at the start of the stream. I think we'll probably have a little talk about it right now. Um, yeah, I went to go see the Minecraft movie last night, and yeah, my internet should be fine. Like, again, expensive modem. Uh, the cable is a Cat 8 cable, which is like I didn't even know they made. I didn't hear them ever talk about making a Cat 7 cable. Back when the PS3 came out in 2006, they released Cat 6. Well, that was the first time I came across Cat 6 cables, which are upgraded from your standard 5E internet Ethernet cables. So Cat 6 was like an advanced cable back then. And then I was at the like computer store the other day and I was looking at cables for something else and I came across cables for Cat 8 cables, which are like, and it was the only ones. All the rest were either Cat 6 or 5E. And so I was like, oh shit. It's like the most advanced cables I could get. Most advanced internet cables. Um and so I got a couple of them and my computer is plugged into the Ethernet into the router with that. So it should be basically like there should be no bottleneck on my end. Anyway, yeah. So the Minecraft movie, uh, I actually kind of liked it. I am shocked. I was so sure I was gonna hate it. I was so sure it was gonna be like the worst movie I'd ever seen. But it was fine. It's not good. It's not a good movie, but it was I enjoyed it. I got a few chuckles out of it. There's a few lines that I laugh at when I look back at them. Oh dear. Yeah, no, the thing is when you actually watch the movie and you see Jack Black in it, it's so clear to me that Jack Black is just living his best life, you know. He's just, he's a gamer himself and he just really wants to be a part of game related stuff. And he happens to also be an actor and a musician, so that's what you get. You get this is it should be called like instead of you know how they call it a Minecraft movie because it's like it's not the Minecraft movie. There is no the Minecraft. This is just a Minecraft movie because this is like one version of it. This is one interpretation of it. Um It really should be called Jack Black's Minecraft movie because it's so like so much of it. Yeah, let's just say after the all the trailer stuff, I actually think the trailers did it dirty. Honestly, the movie, I I am Jack Black. Yeah, it should have been that rather than Steve. Uh, yeah, because yeah, again, like when I was looking at the trailers, I was just like, this is gonna be the worst movie I've ever seen. But actually seeing like the characters in the movie and seeing the pieces put together, seeing it all together, it's so much better than what the trailers suggested. Um, I found it entertaining, but I didn't think it was a good movie. No, that's the thing, is it's still not a good movie. But then I say that that's like the same thing I said about the Mario movie. The Super Mario Brothers movie. I forget what they actually called it. The Mario movie, whatever they called it. Uh, I also thought the same thing. Like it was fun. I had a lot of fun with the Mario movie. I didn't think it was a good movie though. It's extremely basic, and the same thing with the Minecraft movie. Extremely basic. Um, yeah, that's just it. You've hit the nail on the head. Is like for people like it's the same with exactly the same with the Five Nights at Freddy's movie. The first FNAF movie, I enjoyed it a lot, but I don't think it's a good movie. So I think it's entertaining, and as someone who's a big fan of insert game Minecraft, Mario, Five Nights at Freddy's, you know, I that I could be, I might be the target audience for those movies. Someone like me who's a big fan of the series, big fan of video games, but I can't imagine that. I can't imagine that, like for the average viewer, the Five Nights at Freddy's movie was like a super big hit, or for Mario and Minecraft, those games are so ubiquitous that anyone knows at least a little bit about those movies. That like yeah, at least some people can get the basic stuff with those movies. But yeah, I don't know. It's let's just say the characters were more endearing than I thought. I think yeah, Jack Black as Steve and Jason Momoa as Garrett, the like um ex or the like washed up video game guy from the 80s. Um Way better than I thought they were going to be when I saw the trailers. Way more entertaining, and it made way more sense seeing it in its full context. But yeah, no, 100%. It's basically the Jack Black Minecraft movie because it was pretty well centered around him. It was more, even though they tried to frame it as it was like the kid's story, Henry's story. Um, it was definitely Jack Black's Minecraft movie. His character's the one who's in the center of everything. Um, and yeah, they just yeah, it was fun. It was silly. I enjoyed it more than I thought I was going to, and I'd recommend just like going and seeing it to make your own judgment because I went with Mark and Mark hated it, so like you never know. You might hate it, you might enjoy it. I got a lot of laughs out of the side plot with the villager in the human world. That was very funny, and there's still a few lines here and there that pretty much every time there was a line I saw just a moment ago. I forget what it was. Um, that I laugh every time I see it. Well, I have successfully laughed every time I've seen it. Um, Crap, I can't remember what it was. I was literally watching a video about the movie just a moment ago. and I chuckled. But there was also a lot of cringe. There is a lot of cringe that's like, ugh, video gamer cringe, you know. And all the all the stuff from the trailers where they're explaining shit. It's pretty cringe. But yeah, overall, I enjoyed myself with the movie. Yeah. Also, hey MX, how you doing? Uh, I should definitely look in general chat. Should you think about it. An interesting movie is a good movie because the point of a movie is to entertain. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, a movie can be well written and high quality, but those aren't entirely necessary for it to be a good movie. Exactly. That's the thing. I'm not a film critic. I'm not looking for that's why I say I enjoyed it. But I don't think it's a good film. You know, because like the films that I would say are good are the ones that have amazing writing or amazing acting. And I don't think this movie has either of those things really. Um, I mean, the actors were fine, but and I know that they had heaps of fun. I could tell that they were having a whole lot of fun making that movie, but the yeah, it's not a quality. It's not. It's not a super high quality script, or do I think that the actors took it super seriously? I think they were just having a lot of fun. Diamond armor, full set. Yeah. And oh my god. Wait, I gotta see if I can find a picture of that. Uh, I laughed so I mean, okay, maybe I shouldn't spoil it. But and I can't actually see a picture of it either. But let's just say there's this one bit where they're in like a big battle with the piglins, and Jack Black suddenly appears with wearing his full diamond armor. It's so dumb. It's so dumb that it's hilarious. Like it's so ridiculous that it's. I laughed out like in the theater. I laughed out loud when I saw it. It's so ridiculous because it's like it's exactly like it is in the games where it's like this square helmet and like these gigantic pauldrons. And I just laughed because it's so silly and so not, and he's not even wearing like the leggings. He doesn't have the diamond leggings, so he's just like it only covers like half his body. He looks so ridiculous. It was funny because of how stupid it was, and I got a lot of that was for me. There was a lot of scenes like that where it's like this is so silly, it's just funny, you know. Also, hey Fireboy, yeah. Um, there was a lot of that. There was a lot of laughing, perhaps unintentionally. Wait, what is this? Oh, okay.
Narazili na netr. Ale doly mě vábily dál. A tak jsem jednoho dne začal dolovat.
Yeah. No, what that was like the one glimmer that I might like the movie before it came out was that as a child I yearned for the mines because when I first saw that trailer that had that in it, I actually did laugh. It was like that visual of the little kid with the pickaxe is so funny. Okay, see it soon. Um, yeah, that was like that's majority of the a good amount of my enjoyment of the film was it being just really dumb and being so silly that it's funny. Um, yeah. Oh god, the whole I love my favorite, yeah, 100% my favorite part of the whole movie is the subplot with the villager in the real world, the like reverse story. Because there's the story of the humans in Minecraft, but then there's also the subplot of the Minecraft in human world, the villager who wanders into the real world. It's so silly. It's so dumb. It's so funny. Oh, that's a line that constant always like makes me laugh. Is the after she hits him with her car, like you see in the trailer, she runs up to him and then she's like, "Oh my God, are you okay? Like I'm so sorry I hit you." And then she's looking at him and she's like, "Your head is huge." The way she says it and the scene that precedes it, it's just I laugh every time because their head is fucking huge. I think the reason Minecraft movie ended up so stupidly funny is because they were so unnecessarily faithful. Yeah, exactly. It's like floating out as blocking armor. Yeah, that's just it. There are aspects that are just so ridiculous that are so silly because they're silly in the game, and so they're also silly when you put them in a real world context, or like this kind of context. A real person wearing the diamond armor from Minecraft is ridiculous. So silly. Um. Oh, the games of the Nintendo Switch. I don't know what they're going to be in New Zealand dollars, but they were talking about them being 89. Was it 89 or 80? 89, I think. USD. Which I mean if it and it won't follow because game prices are weird across the world. It won't follow exactly, but if it followed exactly to $89 or 79, okay, let's go 79. Um okay. So yeah, at 80 US dollars basically, 79. I'll put 99. 79.99. That's 140 New Zealand dollars. Uh 80 for digital, 90 for physical. Well, yeah, that's what I was going for. So like 89 for physical copies. Yeah, that would be over $150, $158 New Zealand. Uh, Pretty ridiculous, right? But yeah, no, usually prices for games in New Zealand, like if they go up to the latest pricings, yeah, you'll probably get to about 140, which is the equivalent of about 79 instead. Like there are already games for that sell for like 120, $130 in New Zealand. That's already a common price for games, physical games in New Zealand. And that's the thing is like it used to be that the first game that I came across that was $130 on release, I was shocked at the price cuz usually games here new games would be like $99 like at the most. Usually that they could be anywhere from 60 through to $100 depending on the game here when they first come out. But yeah, over $100 was quite shocking a while back, but these days with like PS5 games, they're usually over $100 when they first come out now. Unless they're like the I saw the Grand Theft Auto trilogy, the remake one that's terrible. That was like $40. Yeah, but I think that's partly because it's old and it didn't sell well. Yeah, I wanted to switch for my birthday, but because of the tariff situation, we can't get it. Oh, yeah, yeah. Yeah, I really feel for you guys living in the US right now. Yeah, the situation is fucking crazy. Uh, I wish you all the best. I hope that your life isn't too messed up by what's going on over there right now. But at least hopefully you can find some solace in something silly, fun like the Minecraft movie. But anyway, have I been dropping frames still? I think I have. I've still been dropping frames this whole time. I feel like I need to reset my internet or something. I need to reset my computer Wait, I'm just gonna check speed test. Right, right, yeah. Yeah, I don't understand why I'm losing frames. Hold up. Yeah. Yeah, if I my internet is working perfectly according to speed test. So, it's gotta be I mean, it's either something weird going on with my computer and I need to reset it, or YouTube just the connection to YouTube is just poor for me. You don't know what tariff means? Um, so yeah, Fireboy, it's basically if any Americans now want to buy stuff from overseas, you have to pay you have to pay based on what you have to pay an extra fee based on those percentages. That's what a tariff is, basically a tax on foreign goods. So if an American wants to buy foreign goods, they have to pay the American government a fee for that good, basically. Um, and it for the individual for individual people buying stuff, it's not a big deal. Like, it's not a huge deal. For businesses buying their materials and things, that is a huge deal. For business owners and for businesses generally, uh, yeah, that puts a huge extra burden on their profit margins, which they then pass on. Of course, they have to pass that on to the consumer, and so the consumer ends up, you know, paying a whole lot more for their goods. It's one of those things where it's generally considered that tariffs are bad for everyone. Yeah. If you buy local, you should, like, the idea of tariffs is supposed to be to encourage people to buy local, to produce local and to buy local. Uh so, you know, produce it in America and sell it to Americans. But the problem is that America is one of the America is apparently like the pretty much the biggest buyer of foreign goods in the world. Other than maybe China. Maybe China might be higher than that, but there's something like overall, I heard the number. I might be wrong about this. I shouldn't really talk about these kinds of things, but overall, Americans supposedly buy of 100% of, if you look at the total purchasing of all Americans, about 30% apparently is it 30%? 30% of total sales is foreign goods. Wait. That can't be right. I'm misremembering those statistics. Uh Probably way higher than that. Right. Okay. Yeah, the 30% thing I think was it's the what they call the deficit. So US exports versus imports. There's a deficit of 30%. So basically, US exports $266 billion worth of goods, but they import $364 billion worth of goods. So they import 30% more than they export. So in other words, yeah, Americans buy a lot of stuff from foreign entities, more than pretty much any other country in the world, supposedly. Or again, I wonder. I should really look into China's. uh, if they even have stats that are. Wait, Chinese trade deficit. Oh, it's not coming up with easy values to see. Whatever. Yeah, big deficit, big like buying more than they're selling, basically. Um, and so what that's doing is by imposing tariffs, they're just shooting. Trump and his government are just shooting themselves in the foot, or shooting the country in the foot. Yeah. Anyway, enough about politics. Is my internet's still dropping frames, isn't it? It's hard to tell at this stage. 5756. I gotta keep an eye on that number. 5756. Someone write that in chat. 5756. Oh, never mind. It's changed. I am still dropping frames. God damn it. I was gonna say, um, 575. No. I was gonna say, I could either pause the stream, sort of, reset my computer, and try streaming again, or we can go ahead with a slightly laggy stream. What do you think? Do I pause, come back, reset my computer, come back, with no guarantee that will actually fix anything? Or do we just continue with slight lag in the stream? For now, I'm just going to continue.
So, in recent years, the landscape of 3D content creation has been revolutionized by advancement in AI-driven generative
Wait. I'm going to open this up properly.
generative models, and why companies like Nvidia, Google, Dream Fusion, and so on has made significant strides in creating some very interesting tools which has simply formed the basis of image and text to 3D model generation. These tools give a glimpse of what the future holds when it comes to generative 3D models, and also using images and text to generate 3D assets for a wider community of users. And often they did grapple with challenges like slow processing times and limited capabilities, and why a lot of companies have actually tried to create some of these things, most of them are either closed source or just simply end up creating pseudo 3D perspective that uses textures to give a false rendering of what a 3D model should look like. And this is where the Honian 3D version 2 comes in. Honian 3D version 2 is an advanced large-scale 3D synthesis system for generating high-resolution textured 3D assets, and this is made available by the folks at Tencent. And this too promises to be a groundbreaking framework that addresses challenges of previous counterparts heads-on. And the best part, unlike present-day competitors, this tool is totally free and open source under the Apache 2.0 license, which makes it super easy for developers, researchers, and also creators to have an unlimited access to experimenting and also building upon this present technology. However, there's a little bit of a caveat, and that has to do with some territories. As much as this is free and open source, some territories are not expected to fall under this license, and this includes the European Union, United Kingdom, and South Korea, as it's expressly limited to these territories as defined below. So if you fall within this category, I would suggest that you take a look at this prior to using this tool. And one other cool thing is they've just recently released a Blender plugin which allows creators to generate 3D models right inside of Blender, and this we'll talk about in a bit. And for those who like to see how this works, then you can simply go over to the link in the description that will bring you right here where you can take a look at how these actually work. So this tool currently has two foundational components: a large-scale shape generation model, which is called the Hunian 3D Shape VAE, and also the Hunian 3D DIT, and there's also a large-scale texture synthesis model, which is called the Hunian 3D Paint. And this shape generation model is built on a scalable flow-based diffusion transformer, which aims to create geometry that properly aligns with the given condition of the image. And the whole idea is to lay a solid foundation for downstream applications, and the texture synthesis model itself simply benefits from the strong geometric and diffusion method, as this enables for the production of high resolution and vibrant texture map for either generated or handcrafted meshes. And this is totally different from what we have with version 1. You can see with version 2, 3 billion model parameters have been used. This has about 1 minute of processing time, and it can generate high resolution geometry alongside high resolution textures. For version 1, you can definitely tell things look pretty different. And for those who like to explore this and possibly use it, how this works is pretty simple. You can either go over to GitHub like we mentioned earlier, or you can go over to Hugging Face. So for Hugging Face, we're going to go over to version 2.0. That brings us right here. So to start exploring,
I don't know how I feel about this. I think I'll leave this here. Well, if you want to, see more of this, look into more of this. It looks like it's going to go into a bit of a demonstration of how this works, or using it. But on one hand, I always like methods for for allowing developers to make stuff quicker and easier. However, with the is this video supposed to be for the game developers or game developers or model makers? Well, I think it's either or. I think you could use it for animation and or video games. But this is one of those things where it's like this is a use of AI to somewhat skip the process of making models. But yeah, it still irks me a little bit, because I don't like I still don't like the idea of people losing jobs, losing their, let's say you've been a 3D modeler your whole life, you've been 3D modeling your whole life, and then suddenly, and you've built that skill, built that talent, and then suddenly someone is like, nah, we don't need to hire these guys, because we can just make the AI do it for us. Again, I like accessibility, but I also, AI for a lot of stuff can be icky. And I don't know how to feel about it. Boss tops itself out in Tetris Effect connected. So 1 second, we'll get this started. And then It wasn't too loud for me, but maybe it's too loud for the stream. Yeah. Yeah, Tetris Effect is an interesting... This is Tetris Effect. Yeah, Tetris Effect. Tetris Effect is a really interesting game. Oh. Oh. Oh, I got that line in perfect time. The same people made Ray's Infinite. Right. It is kind of mesmerizing, this game. Yeah, the boss got an all clear. That's wild. Oh, can the boss not get to the right hand side? he's stuck. He's screwed. Yeah. Somehow the boss locked himself off from the right hand side of the screen, so he literally couldn't like clear any more tiles. Damn. Nice. Yeah. Went from an all clear to being just decimated. Dear game developers, stop messing this up. Okay.
Almost every...
Oh, no, I think I've seen this. I think I've seen this video. Have I? Oh, if I have, I might not have remembered to like it. I feel like I've seen this video. You may still be able to get to that hole. Have you utilized the super rotation system? Oh. Right, okay. Okay, interesting. But yeah, I've seen a video talking about delta time. And so I might have seen
Almost every
this.
developer seems to be using this variable incorrectly. It is used in all of your favorite video games, and you'll find it in every game engine from Unity to Unreal to GameMaker to Godot, which makes it even more frustrating that all most developers know about it is...
I should multiply everything by delta time. If not, I am committing a crime.
LOL. If only it were so easy, huh? And if you're one of those know-it-alls who thinks they know everything already, then grab a pen and a piece of paper. I will test your knowledge. You're writing a game development test, my friend, and I will grade you at the end of the video. This is not a joke. Yeah? Well, no, videos create the illusion
We're not watching
of
the whole
motion by
video,
showing you
so...
a bunch of images very quickly, and games work the exact same way, but there's one important difference. In a video, all of the images have the exact same length. So for example, if you have a video with 25 frames per second, then one frame is shown exactly every 1 divided by 25 seconds. For games, unfortunately, it's a mess. All of the frames are just shown whenever they finished rendering, which can be whenever. In a video, if we want to create the illusion of motion, we can just move the character by the same amount every frame and it will look like a smooth motion. In a game, because all of the frames are spaced apart differently, we cannot do that. Dear test participants, write me a line of code that makes a character move over the screen with a consistent speed. You have 3 seconds to lock in your final solution. 3, 2, 1.
Dear.
Here's my friend Jerry. He has a very good computer, so
Yeah,
his
I remember these snails. I'm almost certain I've seen this exact video. Can I send an hour-long video? I would prefer not. These streams usually are only 3 to 4 hours anyway, so you can send it. I just won't watch it in the stream, or I'll just watch a snippet of it. But also, welcome to the stream. I appreciate you being here. Yeah, Rory, stop messing this up. I'm trying. I had Delta Time, I think of a popular custom level in a rhythm game I used to play. Oh. Was it just like straight up called Delta Time? If so, interesting. Game developer reference?
Game runs with 60 frames per second. And this is Betty, she just loves toaster, so she's playing this on a toaster and only has 5 frames per second. Oh, what do I see here? Is this your final answer? The update event is called every frame. This is the position of the snail. And you want to go to the right, so you multiply the right vector times your movement speed, how far you want to move each frame.
Usually you go... well, actually, I frequently like using Unity's velocity system for movement, because it works slightly differently than this transformed opposition. But if I was still using transformed opposition, yeah, I would do something along these lines. It's your movement direction times your speed, and then usually times delta time. Except because it's physics, I don't use delta time, I used fixed delta time, which is the Unity's physics timer, which just works differently to regular delta time, in that it's always 50 times a second, somehow.
So that up there is your solution. Let's run it and see what happens. Jerry is zooming away and Betty is left behind. You monster, what have you done?
Wait, did I dislike this video?
Because both snails move the same amount each
Or did
frame,
I
but
accidentally
Jerry just
click that?
has way more frames per second, so obviously he's gonna move fast. I'm pretty sure you're
Wait,
not
did I
a criminal
dislike
though,
the
because
video?
I'm pretty sure you remembered.
I should
I must
multiply
have
everything by
accidentally
delta
clicked
time.
dislike.
If not, I am committing a crime.
Let's do that then. Let's multiply in this magical variable that we don't quite understand yet. And
I have found that I've come back to videos and there's a dislike on it because I must have accidentally clicked dislike at some point while watching the video. That's the only thing I can think of with why I would have disliked this video.
all of a sudden it works. If we keep this running forever, they will always stay next to each other. So if you're participating in the test and you got this correct, then you get 10 points. Write down your points. The question is, why is this solution correct? Let's have a look at our film strips or game strips. And for this example, we actually do have consistent time intervals between the frames. For Jerry, it's about 16 milliseconds between each frame. And for Betty, it's 200. And what you can kind of intuitively see here is that the more time passed since the last frame, the further we have to move the character, and there is a direct correlation. So delta time is exactly that. It is the time distance between frames. If it's been twice as long since the last frame has been rendered, we need to move twice as far. How delta time is measured is a little different from game engine to game engine. In Unity, it's measured in seconds. So that means Jerry's delta time is 0.016 and Betty's delta time is 0.2. If we multiply that into our equation, Betty moves way more than Jerry every frame, which is exactly what we need. In a real game, the frame rate will obviously vary. Sometimes you'll have 60 frames per second, sometimes you'll have 5 frames per second. So that is important to know. Delta time is automatically recalculated every frame, and it's usually different every frame. That way it's possible to go back and forth between being Betty and Jerry, and it's still gonna work out just fine. So, little know-it-alls, what do you think is delta time exactly? Is it A, the time elapsed between the last frame and the one preceding it? B, the time elapsed between the frame currently being processed and the one preceding it? C is answer B, plus the time since the current frame started? Or is it D, the time since this object last accessed the delta time variable? So, dear test participants, think about it, pause the video, there are some points to be earned. I will reveal the solution.
I've never looked into it before.
2, 1. If you picked any of these two here, then haha, I trolled you real bad. B is not the correct answer either, but I'll give you 10 points, because it's almost correct. Why is it only almost correct? Well, let's say we're here in the timeline, and we're currently running our program code to calculate the next frame. In that case, we actually do have a problem, because we do not have the next frame yet, nor do we know when our calculation's gonna be finished. So really, the only thing we can do is use the delta time from the last 2 frames and use that for our calculation. Is this the exact number we're looking for? Well, definitely not, but it's usually a reasonable assumption that's at least roughly in the correct ballpark, and we're still gonna use this interval as the delta time in the next frame, so it's gonna even itself out in the long run. So if you picked A, then I'm actually slightly impressed, and you get 20 points.
I have done that. I have done that with videos before.
Congratulations. What that means is delta time always has a 1 frame delay. Now there's a fun little experiment you can run in your game engine. You can create an artificial lag spike. I'm personally doing that by running a bunch of unnecessary computations a bunch of times. So whenever I press X now, the game will have a huge lag spike. Here we have the two brothers, Jerry and Barry. Barry unfortunately suffers from lag spikes. As we're using delta time, you can always catch up though. Let's watch one of Barry's lag spikes frame by frame. As you can see, he's moving a little bit every frame, and all of a sudden the lag spike hits. So because of all of my unnecessary computations, the next frame takes way longer to be calculated. But what do you think will happen in the next frame? Take your guess. Actually pause the video and
he's gonna move a tiny bit, and then the next one after
right.
that he's gonna jump.
In 3, 2, 1. Here it is. I'm playing the same 2 frames over and over again, so you can see just those 2 frames. And as you can see, it's moving a little bit, a tiny little bit. So if you guessed anything like it moves a completely normal amount, then you get 10 points. And only in the next frame the expected teleport forward occurs. Why is it important to know that delta time always has a 1 frame delay? Well, honestly, it's only really useful for debugging and for avoiding your own confusion. So now you know how it works. For our next challenge, we want to achieve the same result. We want both snails to move at a consistent speed, but this time we want to code into fixed update instead of update. Don't worry, these are still the very easy questions. For those who don't know, fixed update happens a fixed amount of times every second. The question is, what do we have to change here to make this code work? Pause the video if you want to, and I expect your answer in 3,
It's fixed
2,
delta time
1.
rather than
We of course need to remove the delta time. Oh, you're really racking up the points there. When we run our code in update, then this is where
I would
our
still
code
use
is
fixed delta
executed. Or I
time.
guess to be a little more precise, not all of that is taken up by the update events. A huge portion of that is also taken up by rendering. But sometimes the irregularities caused by the system can be quite annoying to work around. That's why most game engines offer a separate system where you can execute code. In Unity, those are called fixed updates. And let's, for example, say we're executing some code right here. Why would we ever want to multiply anything by this interval right here? There's no freaking way that makes sense. If anything, then we want to multiply by this interval right here, which is called fixed delta time. So that means if you answered my last question with fixed delta time in the solution, then that's obviously correct as well. Multiplying the same static number that never changes into everything you do is obviously a little bit pointless, so you really don't have to. If fixed update is so much easier to use and we don't have to worry about delta time, why don't we just code our entire game in there? Well, actually that is a valid coding style as long as our code doesn't take too long to execute. But if it takes longer to execute,
because the reason why is because you want the graphical components to be at as fast a frame rate as you can possibly get. When it comes to, at least when it comes to Unity, what you want to do is you want to have all the graphical stuff, as much as you can, have all the graphical components, things to do with rendering or visual components happening in the regular update function. And you want all the physics stuff, all the stuff that needs to happen consistently over time. You know, anything that needs to happen on fixed intervals, like physics, like movement, like interaction stuff. You want that to happen on the fixed update method, because yeah, that's how it keeps it. That's how you make sure it keeps consistent. If you put your physics stuff in your update function, then you're gonna have craziness when the frame rate gets really high or really low. But if you have your graphical stuff in the fixed update, you're going to get jittery movement. Your frames are going to be your visual frames are going to be updating faster than your physical frames, I guess you could say. So, like, for instance, this is what happens. This is what happens to a lot of new developers in Unity when they're making like a camera that's attached to a physics object. A lot of people get, if you're trying to make a camera do something like either being attached to or moving alongside or with a physics object, it's quite easy to accidentally put your camera stuff in your fixed update section of code or something similar and end up with like weird jumpy movement. And it can be confusing for a lot of new people to Unity as to why that's happening. I know, because that happened to me a lot. In the early days, I used to have problems with making the camera work in a lot of my games or a lot of my projects, because I had it all in the fixed update section. Because I was thinking, well, my character is a physics object, so I got to put that in the fixed update. But then the camera, because it was attached to the player character, or in some way, then I was getting weird camera problems, but then yeah, it just took a bit of extra learning knowledge to realize that the camera itself should always be in the, or anything you do with the camera should be in the fixed update section. You should never directly attach a camera to a physics object in Unity. Always have the camera be handled by the update function and have its own code. Ideally have its own code to target whatever you want to target with the camera, rather than attaching it directly to a physics object, because yeah, physics happens 50 times a second, whether or not the frames are 5 frames a second or 100 frames a second. And the slower the frame, your higher your frame rate, the less synced up your camera is to to movement. You'll get lots of jumping, basically, when you've got a bunch of frames but only one physics frame, and so therefore only one movement of the camera. You've got multiple frames where the camera's in the same position and then it suddenly jumps to a new position. It's going to look awful. So you want the camera to move at as fast a speed as the graphics can handle, and you want the physics to be consistent.
Than our fixed delta time, then we are in trouble, because then our game starts slowing down. Also, what about Emily with her high-end gaming PC? Maybe she wants to run the game at a higher frame rate than the random number you decided on. So that's why usually using update and delta time is the more resilient and scalable system. But fixed update still has its place. For example, in Unity, anything physics related you usually want to put in the fixed update. That's because the physics engine is running in the fixed update as well. And that way your interactions with the physics engine are gonna be more consistent and more reliable. To make things more confusing, you can also turn the main update into a fixed update by adding weighting to your equation. So you can essentially set a fixed frame rate and then just wait for the remainder of the time. So in Unity, if you limit the frame rate to 60, that's pretty much exactly how that looks like. Some game engines even work like this by default. For example, in GameMaker, this is pretty much the default way everybody writes code. And once again, the cool thing is, as now all frames are spaced apart evenly, you don't necessarily have to use delta time anymore. The only problem is, of course, once again, there's no such thing as a negative waiting time. So if your update and rendering take too long, then you're in trouble. Take a deep breath, take a sip of water, go on a toilet break if you need to, because that was the easy part. I downgraded Betty's toaster to 2 frames per second so we can a little more easily see when something is wrong. And this is what I would like you to create. Snails start with a speed of 0, and then their speed linearly increases over time. They do not have to loop around. I'm just doing that for demonstration purposes. The only thing that matters is that every time Betty updates her position, she needs to be exactly next to Jerry. Just as before, we're using the same script for both snails, so you cannot write separate scripts for both of them. You have to write your code in update, and you have to use delta time. So I want them to start slow and get faster and faster. Pause the video now and try to come up with a solution. You have 3, 2, 1. Okay, let's see what you got. So you have 2 variables. That's nice. Yeah, you have an acceleration variable and you have a speed variable. Very good. So this part is the exact same thing as last time, and the only thing we added was this line here. We add something to the speed, and now here we take the acceleration.
Why add the extra delta time? Is this the problem that he's going to point out? Because I personally would just increase the speed variable over time and just have it so that, every new frame, the speed variable has increased. And because you're already timesing by delta time here. Oh, because it is in the update function. Oh no. This is the part that I feel like is the problem, though. This is the part that's gonna be the problem, is timesing this acceleration by delta time in this update. Yeah. Because it's gonna be a problem of the fact that the numbers are gonna start smaller for the slower computer, and it's gonna continually be lower for the whole duration. You're going to get a huge desync in what speed equals for the two.
Acceleration, and we multiply it by delta time. So this is for movement, this is for increasing the speed, and both times we multiply in delta time. Okay, I loaded a new solution. Let's try it out. And Oh,
Yeah.
Betty, hurry up. Let's check this out in slow motion, where Betty updates to... Oh, she's too short. Okay, then I guess we have to move this before. So first we add something to our speed, and then we use that speed to accelerate ourselves forwards. Come on, stay next to each other, please, please. Go, go, go. And this time, Betty is ahead. What the hell? This time it's the other way around. But when Betty updated her position, they were definitely not next to each other. So if you got any of the solutions we just talked about, then you only get 20 points. Because this is a good approximation, but it's not entirely correct. Okay, then. So what happens if we apply half of the acceleration before and the other half of the acceleration after we move the snails? Accelerating before the movement didn't work, accelerating after the movement didn't work. So let's try splitting it in two, I guess.
I would never have thought
to do that. Will our random solution work? The tension is immeasurable. I need a little more hype here. Come on, more hype, more hype.
Oh.
What? It is perfect.
That does work?
Question, and that is why? Why does this work? Let's graph this out. On the x-axis we have the time, and on the y-axis we have the speed of the snail. So our snails start out with zero speed, that was but not going to work. Faster and faster over time. Luckily for every frame we know exactly how fast the snails are, because the speed is just increasing
so
linear. So now let's have a look at our first slightly incorrect solution again. The linear increase of speed is something we don't really have to worry about. That's working correctly. The more time passes, the more we increase the speed. Very straightforward. This is the part of the code that is responsible for calculating how far the snail moves. So now let's assume we're running this code right here in between those two frames. What are we multiplying? We're multiplying speed times delta time. By multiplying those two numbers, we calculate the surface area of this beautiful rectangle here. So the surface area of this rectangle represents how much we're gonna move between those two frames. So can you start to see the problem here? If our speed would look like this and was actually consistent, then that would look a lot more correct, wouldn't it? Because in that case, multiplying speed times delta time would create a rectangle that fills up the surface area under the graph perfectly. So we have to take into consideration that the speed is constantly changing, and what that means is we're lacking a piece here. Or in other words, we're not moving enough. Okay, then I guess we have to move this before. So first we add something to our speed.
No, then you got
then we use the speed to accelerate ourselves forwards. Well, okay, so
the
in
square
that
is
case,
the opposite. It goes like this.
Speed, you're telling me we should use this speed, which results in this surface area, which is too much. We are moving too much now. We really just want the area
it makes
under
sense
the
in
graph.
hindsight.
So how do we get that? Well, hey, there's an entire field in math. The thing you want to research are integrals, or more precisely, definite integrals, which have a start and an end point. Luckily for this specific case, there's an easy hack we can apply. We can chop off one corner and attach it back like so, and we have a rectangle. As you can see, the speed we want to multiply by is exactly in the middle of the start speed and the end speed. So in this case, but only because the speed is a linear function, we dodged a bullet and we get away without doing any more complicated math. And that is exactly why this is a correct solution. This first line here gets us the middle point, and then this last line here makes sure we add all of the speed that we need to add. So if you got this solution or any solution that effectively achieves the same result, then you get 50 points! Woo! I feel like I'm probably clapping for nobody, but still, woo! And by the way, just a little addition or correction, this calculation is obviously not happening here.
Welcome to the family!
Here because of the one frame delay on delta time. So that means we're oftentimes not moving the exact amount that we should, but with a one frame delay, we're always moving the exact amount we should, so that's actually completely fine. And before you go scream at everybody who makes this quote-unquote mistake, please don't, because this is a very good approximation, and 9 out of 10 times it's gonna get the job done just fine. Bet you won't like this, but I'm gonna upgrade her to 30 frames per second for this experiment. The general rule of thumb is the higher the frame rates, the better these approximations work. So this is the exact same flawed code that we already tried out earlier, but as you can see, the snails do a really good job staying in sync with each other. Let's keep this running for a little.
That's the thing. Like, the amount that it will change with relatively normal frame rates, the amount it will change will be so minimal that it doesn't really matter. It's negligible. Like, it would matter in a context of, like, playing competitive games where, like, everyone needs to be synced up and perfectly you know, which would never happen. So you can't play an online game or even like just two systems in like a LAN system. You can't guarantee that they're going to be perfectly synced up, but in like competitive stuff where the slightest margins matter. Yeah, this variation is so minimal it doesn't really matter.
A little bit just to see what happens. And what you can see is it's not so flawed after all. They're starting to get slightly out of sync, but it's nothing too crazy. Why is that? The reason for that is that with a higher frame rate, the speed is recalculated more often, and therefore we have a higher accuracy. Did I hear a complaint that you want more points for your answer then? Don't get greedy! Remember that depending on the circumstances, these inaccuracies can quickly add up, and they can accumulate. So using
the difference between 30 and 120 won't be that much different from the 60 to 30. Because the more it's a logarithmic graph where the let's just say in terms of like accuracy, I guess, of what is actually intended, the higher the frame rate, the more accurate it is. So with higher frame rates across the board, the more closely aligned things should be. I know the distance between the 120 and 30 is further, so like the 30 snail will get a little further ahead of the 121 than the 60, but not significantly so. It's only really noticeably different when you have a super low frame rate thing versus a medium to high frame rate thing. Because the accuracy starts super low and gets really high really fast, and then plateaus out. Yeah. Let's use completely different algorithm. Yeah. There's people who speedrun GTA 5. Sometimes the low frame rates help to get random boost out of nowhere. Yeah. See, that's the thing, is like that's the physics engine messing up because of low frame rate, or something similar. The processing of the physics stuff is getting warped. Pretty sure this is the reason why in Quake 3 lower frame rates make you jump a tiny bit higher. Right, yep. Yeah, and that's exactly why in Raft, of all games, if you have a lower frame rate, your character jumps higher. Just naturally jumps higher on a lower frame rate. I remember because there's a boat in the middle of the story of Raft. You find a yacht, a super yacht, that you can like make your way through, and eventually you get to the top and you get what you need to get the next like location. But right before you leave, you have the opportunity to, if you look closely, there's a box on the very top of the yacht. But the very top, the roof of the yacht, if you will, I could never jump on it. I could never get to it because it was just a bit too high to get to. It always felt so tantalizingly close to jump on top of it. Turns out, if you put your frame rate at 30 frames a second instead of 60, which is what the default is, you can jump on top of the yacht, and you can get up to that box, and there's like a little like bonusy item that's not important, but it's like a unique item. Yeah. You can only get to it if your frame rate's 30 because of the difference in physics.
Approximations is fine. You should just be aware of the fact that you are using an approximation, which I feel like most developers aren't. And for everything where you do care about accuracy, like for example the player movement, from now on you know that you can probably do a little better. How can you do better? Well, I even made a slide for all of those rule lovers out there. Whenever a variable changes over time, then this is the mathematically perfect solution, and this is the approximation. The thing is, you obviously only need this formula if the change speed itself is changing. If the change speed is consistent, then this is a mathematically perfect solution as well. If the change speed itself is changing, then you have to figure out the average change speed over the last delta time seconds. So let's, for example, say delta time is 0.5 seconds. Then you have to figure out the average change speed over that time period and multiply by that. This next mistake, however, is a really rough one, and I've seen people make this mistake, so that's why I have to include this in the video. All the experienced developers, look away, this might hurt. So I made this little game called Flappy Snail, which is essentially the exact exact same thing we just talked about. We're accelerating in one direction, and the only difference is that now I have a jump button. So in this case, for movement, we're using the approximation, which is fine, but I might have removed something very important from the jump code down here. And if you can tell me what's missing, then you'll get some points.
Is it just that they're not multiplying? Oh no, speed. They've got a multiplication of delta time over here. Speed plus equals 10. I don't know. Floppy snail. Yeah. I was gonna say, yeah, the missing the multiplication of delta time. I guess that's it. But you don't really want it in this context, I wouldn't have thought. Because again, you want to increase the speed. You want it to be a sudden shift in speed. I don't know.
Points. You have 3, 2, 1. Lock in your answer. And if this is your final answer, okay, don't lie to me. What's locked in is locked in.
I don't
And
like
then you
that.
get minus 10
Yeah,
points.
I was gonna
'cause
say.
This is so wrong. Oh my god. Don't ever do this. This is horrible. You want to multiply by delta time when something happens over time. When
Yeah.
something happens immediately.
Yeah, when something's
like a jump.
instantaneous,
That is
you
a
don't
point
wanna...
in time. When something happens at a point in time, you
Yeah.
never want to multiply by a period of time. That just doesn't make any
Yeah,
sense.
setting
Unless
acceleration
you want
to
to jump
0.
twice as high when the frame rate drops or something. But why?
No, I think, yeah, the acceleration is always going to be the same because it's
Alright,
just
I'm sorry for
gravity.
your loss if you fell for it, but if you were either confused or you were like, seems alright to me, then you get 10 points.
Right,
Luckily, there's an incredibly catchy rule. Just say it with me.
I should multiply everything by delta time, but only once and
But
not
only once
accidentally
and
twice.
Yeah.
And only when
And
we're not in
when you're
fixed
not
update.
Fixed update.
And only when it's something that is really happening over a period of time. If not,
If not,
I am
I'm
committing
committing
a
a
crime.
crime. Oh yeah. And
don't
don't
freaking mess up your freaking
lerp
lerp functions, you
OMG, just use your brain, WTF. And that is exactly why rules stink. There are too many exceptions. But what was that? Don't mess up your lerp functions? I think we should look into that. If you don't know what a lerp function is, then this is probably not the best video to explain it, but I'll give it a brief shot. It allows you to interpolate between A and B with...
I was going to say, lerp's another place where you use delta time a lot. But I'm just trying to think of how you could mess it up. Huh. I mean, let's have a
value
listen.
T has
I
to
know
be
it's a
a value
22-minute
between 0 and
video,
1, and the
but
calculation happening
this is totally my field, my interests. So I'm gonna watch the whole thing. I wasn't planning to originally, but you know what? Let's watch the whole thing.
underneath is fairly simple. It's just A times 1 minus T plus B times T. So let's, for example, say you have two positions on the x-axis, minus 7 and 7. So that means if you set T to 0, you'll end up with minus 7. If you set it to 1, you'll end up with 7. And anything in between will give you something in between. Now, using a lerp function, I would like you to create this. The snails start out fast, but they get slower and slower, and they never fully arrive at their target destination. They're just getting closer every frame, but they will never arrive there. And I'll even give you a little tip. You can do this with a lerp function that can interpolate from one position to another. The only thing you have to fill in is this last parameter of the lerp function here. This is the snail's current position, this is the snail's target position, and this is what you gotta fill in. By now you know how we roll. We're looking for the mathematically perfect solution only, so no pity points for approximation.
my answer, which is probably going to end up being wrong somehow, is lerp speed times delta time.
This time, this is your final test. Here's
Okay, yeah.
once again what to create.
Yep. Let's skip
Let's
ahead.
put in a blend variable here. And I'm sure the solution most of you got is just time.delta time multiplied by lerp speed. Honestly, I don't even have to run this to prove to you that this can't possibly be correct. Because I told you, the snails never reach their target destination. But what happens if we have the giga lag spike of doom and we have a 2-second lag spike? There's nothing stopping this blend value from becoming really large, even larger than 1. And what happens if t is 1? Then we instantly jump to our target position, which is wrong. Alright, so let's run the simulation and see how long it takes for those two snails to get out of sync. And they're out of sync. That's not too impressive. So in these kind of scenarios, we have to realize that we are on an exponential function. In this case, on a reverse
That's such a funny name,
exponential
and I know it's
function.
an
On the
acronym,
x-axis, we have the
something
time, and on
that
the
counts
y-axis,
up.
we have the distance from
Yeah.
the target. So you can see the distance from the
Yeah.
target is getting lower and lower, but it's never reaching
But
0.
the thing is that for lerping stuff, I don't really care if it reaches its final destination, because honestly, that's usually what I'm using it for. Usually I do want it to get to its final destination at some point. In fact, what I usually do is I have an extra check after the lerp that says if this object is less than a certain distance from the target, just jump to the target. That's what I usually have. In my code, like a lot of the time, because I actually do want it to reach the target. I just want it to reach it in a smoothened out way. Yeah, so that's why I use that I use the lerp function all the time in that exact way that's wrong.
As we are on an exponential function, we have to use
Yeah.
an exponential function.
But then also because you'd never be using a lerp in a context where you want like in a race kind of context. Wait until you hear about slurp. I have heard of slurp. Or slurp.
Mind blown. All right, I'm just gonna show you the correct solution. Here it is, and it looks a little intimidating. I admit that. The 1 minus, we can remove that, but then we have to switch those two around. So let's do that to simplify that a bit. So we end up with 0.5 to the power of delta time times lerp speed, and that then is the number that we use to blend between our current position and our target position. On an exponential curve, what do you have to do when you want to move to the right? You have to change the exponent. And you can see the exponent is just linearly correlating with time. It's literally just counting up. And that's why we can just put our time in the exponent and call it a day. The 0.5, by the way, are completely arbitrary. You can choose pretty much any number between 0 and 1. If you got that correct, then damn, I'm impressed, and you get 50 points. And now I can hear all of the formula lovers crying, oh my god, why didn't you use the formula? Oh, don't worry, you can do that here as well. Instead of looking at the distance, you just have to look at the speed. And as it turns out, the speed is an exponential function as well. It starts out very fast and then gets slower and slower, but never reaches 0. And now if we've got a time interval defined by delta time, then we just once again have to calculate the area under the graph, which we can do by multiplying delta time by the average speed within that interval. The only problem is that the average speed is no longer just the middle point between the start and the end point, because this time we have a curved graph. So if you want to get this correct using this method, then you gotta look into integrals. If you're still confused and you're like, what the hell? Then remember that using the much simpler approximation is usually fine. Also, I got a brilliant...
That's the thing, that's like the whole thing with this whole video, is that the majority of the time it's fine. It's fine to use the normal versions. The lazy man's versions, the math phobic versions. Because, like, for instance, when I use the lerp, I'm almost always using it for a camera to stop it from having jumpy movement. I'm almost always lerping a camera to a physics object, and the only other times when I'm not, it's for something that I just want it to move to a spot, and then once it gets to a certain position, like within like 0.001 distance of an object, just jump to the position to be exactly on that position. I'm almost never needing it to be 100% perfectly accurate on all systems, you know? It's yeah, it's only if you are making like a game like an esports game or something where everything needs to be really precise across all systems that you'd use. You'd need to make sure you do the right kind of math. That's right. I was like, what is a slurp again? I remember seeing it, but I can't remember what it is. Slurping across the arc of a circle. Yeah.
Bonus tip for you. Test your game. One thing you can do in Unity
yeah. Oh.
for testing is set application.play target frame rate, and Alf, for example, set that to 12 or something, which is relatively low. Feels very much like a slideshow. This is a little painful, but as you can see, everything's working and everything's moving at the speed it's supposed to and stuff like that. So just try it out. Just try your game at different speeds and see what happens. Most Unity users know about this, but you can actually pause the game by just setting time.timescale. And if you set up your game correctly, then nothing should move anymore. This completely pauses your game with one line of code. It's also a good line to test if you implemented delta time correctly everywhere. All in all, don't stress out about it.
Yeah, because what it does is it doesn't stop your code from running, but it stops all delta time functions from doing anything, because it sets delta time to 0, basically. And so all your stuff with it is based on time or movement, which should be majority of your game. It all comes to a stop. So you, but that's also how you can get like you can get pause menus and stuff like that using that time scale, because you put all your pause stuff in update, and you have it unbound with time. And you can also have all your graphical effects like that as well. Have it completely unbound from time. And that way you can have a pause menu with like fire, still moving or stuff like that. You can still have effects running in the background. Wind blowing or trees like shaking or something like that. Even while it's paused. It shouldn't matter too much if you're using a fixed tick rate either. Right, yes, yep. Yeah. That's the thing, is there's lots of, what I would say is that's, what he's talking about is best practice, but for the majority, especially us, indie developers, people making little games for little projects, it doesn't matter. It doesn't really matter.
It's not as difficult as it seems. But also don't be naive about it. You can't just multiply delta time into everything without even thinking about it and expecting it to work. That's not how it works.
Yeah, a lot of the time, the mistake a lot of people make is putting timesing stuff by delta time too many times. So like, accidentally timesing, like that whole one of like the jump, pressing jump, timesing it by delta time, that doesn't really make any sense because it happens in an instant. So you don't actually want it to be affected by time. You want it to be affected by, like, you press the button. This is actually another reason why I use velocity a lot when I'm doing stuff in Unity rather than changing exact positions. Because if you use velocity, the engine handles time stuff for you. You don't need to do time-related stuff if you use velocity, because the rigid body physics system basically does all the time stuff for you. What I tend to do is I use directionalities, change the velocity of something to a specific direction, and then I allow up and down to be entirely done by the physics engine, except for when you press jump or something, which would just change your vertical velocity by the jump speed. Yeah. That's how I tend to do stuff. It depends on the way you're implementing your game. And definitely velocity is, if you don't want your character to have physics, then velocity is not going to help you, There's no point in having velocity if you're not having physics object as a player character, Or if you don't care, if your character really needs to be mostly not physics based, then yeah. Anyway, what's the time? How long have we been streaming? Just a bit over an hour. Okay, I need to use the toilet, so I might do pee break. Actually, it's gonna be a little longer than a pee break, if you know what I mean. But yeah, I'll be back. Entertain yourselves for a little bit. You can entertain yourselves for a little bit while I'm away. I'll see you soon. I'll be right back. Sorry about that. Oh, my headphone lost its headphone. All right. These streams feel like they take so much longer when they start late for me. Yeah, it's because of daylight saving, as you pointed out. It is unfortunate, but yeah, it was. I actually didn't realize that this weekend was the daylight saving weekend, and when I set the stream up to start, I put the usual time, and I went to bed, and then I woke up this morning. We have a clock in my bedroom, and it's it's a standard wall clock. It doesn't correct itself automatically. So I saw that it was like coming up 7 o'clock, 7:30 or something like that. I was like, oh, I have to get up soon. And then I looked at my phone, and I was like, oh wait, no, there's still an hour. I have an hour to sleep still. And I was like, wait, what? Oh, daylight saving. And then I was like, oh, I hope the stream shows that it's the right, shows the right time. Because in the past, it has been wrong before. Daylight saving, sometimes when I set the stream for a certain time, it says the wrong time because of the change. But yeah, anyway. Legato Films presents Play With Your Keyboard. Oh.
So
I think I immediately know what's going on with this. So is it like a choose your own adventure?
So, you control this
Legato
video
Films.
with the keyboard. Now, what does that mean? Follow me, I'll explain. Each of these test tubes has been assigned a corresponding number on the keyboard. So, if you were to say, pick number 4, then I would have to drink serum number 4. Unfortunately, some of you may not have keyboards. In that case, we've labeled all the serums down in the description below. I must also stress, though, these serums are still being tested, so in the event that something were to go horrifically wrong, I have my assistant here to help me.
That's right.
So, what do you choose?
Alright, let's go. Wait. What color do I like? What color do I want? Did I pee myself? I did not pee myself. I went to the bathroom. Everything went off of me into the toilet bowl. Why did I feel the need to say that? I do like blue liquid. Even though it does look like cleaning fluid. Should we go for turquoise because of the Minecraft movie? Let's go turquoise.
Ah, so you've chosen cyan.
Nice.
There you go.
Doesn't hurt to
Cyan.
try.
Oh, that would have been a pain to have to deal with. Did they have to film? Because he drank the thing from here. So they would have had to film a scenario. They would have to refill the test tube every freaking time.
Oh, this one's... That one's not good at all.
Is it tough?
Oh, it's doing something. Whew. All right, let's see what it does.
Where did he go?
Hey, I got it. Oh.
It was just a Sprite bottle.
What do you choose?
Okay, so that I accidentally, just by chance, chose super speed. Huh. Alright, I'll go with my usual first instincts, which are probably... These three are my first ones that I would, like, lean towards. Blue, orange, and green. Well, blue and orange, especially. Maybe yellow? Let's go for blue.
Ah, so blue. That's a good color, if I do say so myself.
My favorite color, actually.
Yeah, yours too. Let's see what it does.
It has to be tasty, right?
Tastes exactly how you'd think. Tastes like blue.
Yeah.
but it sure doesn't feel like it. Oh.
Are you sure? Sir!
Oh, where the hell am I?
Middle of nowhere.
What do you
Alright.
choose?
Now let's try 5.
Ah, so.
I'll leave it at
Orange.
5. We'll only watch
Let's
this
see.
one and then you can explore the rest of them yourself.
Oh. Oh, it's tangy. Oh. Oh.
You alright, sir? Whoa! Hey! Looking good. How you doing, beautiful? That's awesome! Wish you could make more of us. Absolutely. Let's go.
Fuck. Infinite assistance. But yeah, each scene is also a minute long, so there may have been some retakes. Yeah. I'm just imagining him drinking those vials every single time, having to down a whole lot of liquid. But anyway, yeah, we'll keep moving. That's fun. I like it. I like that it also allows you to go back through the different ones. Oh, there's actually a bunch of those. Yeah, there's another one here as the same, like the sequel to this video. That's cool. That's cool. Anyway, this breaks the game. Even though Mario Kart 8 and 8 Deluxe is the only Mario Kart game I don't have. Sorry, that doesn't have ultra shortcuts. They are finding ways to make a lap not count. Right.
Mario Kart.
I was gonna say I've seen some Mario Kart stuff about like how to fool the system into thinking you've been right round.
Mario Kart 8 Deluxe doesn't really have any glitches. Now, there are some minor ones, but these are always incredibly situational and never affect actual gameplay. And this is what I believed too, until I came across this, a video of somebody playing on DK Jungle. As they come up to the end of the glider section, they move off to the left, likely trying to cut off part of the end, but they go a bit too low and get picked up by Lakitu. Then, they try to drive off, but upon crossing the finish line, the lap doesn't count. I was astounded. I had never seen anything like this before in the game. I needed to know more. I wasn't exactly sure what they had done to invalidate the lap, but I figured that it must have had something to do with this weird glider vectoring they had done immediately beforehand. So I went on to DK Jungle to try to recreate this. I attempted this for hours, and I even had a few times where I was sure that I had done the exact same thing as the video, but when I would cross over the finish line, nothing happened. At this point, I started to wonder if the video was even real in the first place. I did some more digging, and I was able to find quite a few more examples of this happening to people. The good news was that it confirmed my theory. Every single one of them glide off to the left in this strange way right before the lap doesn't count. The bad news was that this still didn't answer why on earth I couldn't recreate it. But then I noticed something strange. Everyone was using Waluigi. This might not seem significant, but the thing is, the best character for this game has been Yoshi all the way back since Wave 4 of the DLC was released in early 2023. So why on earth isn't a single person using him? But then I remembered something. Character stats weren't the only aspect of the game that Wave 4 affected. A few of the game's internal systems were changed, and among these was the system used for keeping track of race completion, the checkpoint system. So from this, the logical conclusion was that this glitch was patched. I was really disappointed by this, because I still had so many questions I wanted answered regarding this thing, but with no way to do it myself, this seemed impossible. But then, I stumbled across something interesting. It was a set of videos made by two friends who had also found the glitch all the way back in 2018. But the weird thing
Happy
was,
Sunday.
they were on Royal
Welcome to the stream.
Raceway. The race seems to be going normally, but when they cross over the finish line on the final lap, the game simply doesn't count it, exactly like what happened on DK Jungle. The culprit appeared to be this jump over the lake earlier in the third lap, where he cuts off a large amount of this corner. This was confirmed by a video his friend uploaded soon after, in which he successfully recreates this exact scenario and gets the lap skip. Naturally, I decided to try this on my own in Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, but it wasn't working, signaling that this one had also been patched between Mario Kart 8 and present day 8 Deluxe. So all out of options, I gave up. About 6 months later, I was talking with a friend about the checkpoint system in Mario Kart 8 Deluxe when I was suddenly reminded about this weird glitch that I had seen back in December. I couldn't find the video, so I tried to just recreate what I had seen from memory. I showed him what I meant, and then I just kept mindlessly driving while trying to remember what the title of the video was. But then, this happened. It wasn't patched. As it turns out, when I had tried to do the jump earlier, I simply hadn't been in the right place, and that's why the laps had been counted. Now that I finally had a working lap glitch, it was time to start figuring these things out. But I was gonna need some help, so I gathered a team of the best Mario Kart players I knew, and Ludwig, and we got to work. We determined that for getting the glitch on Royal Raceway, the best spot to start from was this corner of the diamond, 2 to the left of this final barrier. Once here, you want to aim for the place where the grass dips down in this spot, and then mushroom and hop at the end of the road. If you get picked up by Lakitu while in the middle, it means you went too far to the left, but if the lap counts, it means you were too far to the right. But then, my friend Ludwig pointed out something really interesting. We should theoretically be able to complete 6 entire laps on the course if we use all our mushrooms. This wouldn't be a new record amount of laps due to the track Baby Park, which has 7, but it would set a new record outside of that specific track. We both immediately started going for the 6th lap, which turned out to be a lot harder than we were expecting. While the glitch isn't super difficult to pull off, we couldn't know if it had been successful until after completing the lap. So once we jumped, there were no do-overs. It was during these attempts that we realized we needed a name for this thing. So far, everyone had just been calling it something along the lines of lap skip glitch, but I wanted something a bit better. We eventually decided on calling it an anti-cut, or AC for short, because it basically does the opposite of a time-saving shortcut by making you do another lap. But after an hour or so of trying, Ludwig became the first in Mario Kart 8 Deluxe history to get a 6th lap outside of Baby Park, with me following closely afterwards. The only way it could go higher now would be for us to be able to do it shroomless, which would bypass the limit of 6. Sadly, after about an hour of attempts, neither of us were able to do this. At this point, there wasn't really anything left for me to do on Royal Raceway, so it was finally time to find my own. The first thing we needed to do was figure out what was causing these. Seems simple enough, but the thing is, these should be completely impossible. Let me explain. In order to keep track of where you are in the race and to make sure that you're not doing any ridiculous shortcuts, the game uses a mechanism called the checkpoint system. This is composed of 2 things: a rectangular tube that encompasses the entire track and causes Lakitu to pick you up upon leaving, and the checkpoints, which are sections that are cut out of this tube. Most of these are just used by Lakitu to determine where to put you after you fall off the track, but these light blue ones are a bit more important. These are called key checkpoints, and they are what actually keep track of your progress and make sure you're beating the lap in the correct way. So therefore, the only way for a lap to not count would be for you to completely go around one of these key checkpoints, but if you ever try to do this, you should get picked up by Lakitu. So what the heck is going on here? Well, it's because of this, the origin point. This is at the center of your kart, and it's what actually determines where you are in regards to the checkpoints. Every frame, the game runs a calculation to see whether this point is inside the checkpoints, and if it is, Lakitu doesn't pick you up, and the checkpoint it's in gets counted. Now, this seems like it should work perfectly fine, but the problem arises when we add speed to the equation. When I mushroom here, I am moving so fast that the location of the origin point actually skips over the key checkpoint in between frames, meaning that the game never actually registers you as having been in it, causing the lap to be invalid. So now that we know how they work, we can start looking for more. My plan for finding these
I was pretty sure that the logic would be, like, when entering that section of the video just there, I was expecting them to say, you know, you probably trigger the Lakitu when your entire model exits the collision box, and so all you'd need is to be touching both the previous collision box to the checkpoint one and the next collision box to the checkpoint one to avoid being picked up by the Lakitu. That's how I would assume. How I would have assumed it would have worked. unless the Lakitu only checks, or like the game only checks at set intervals what box you're in, and then that would also trigger that same thing where it's like it checks before and after the open section, and then you can pass right through the open section. But yeah, I would have thought it would be based on your body is still touching the previous box when you start touching the next box, and so there's no point in time where you're completely out of the arena, and therefore you never get picked up. But I don't know. I'm not sure. That's just how I would have assumed it would work.
Initially was to just come up with a list of a bunch of courses that had sharp corners, but Manfredi pointed out that this wasn't a good idea, because what if we forgot about one, or there was one on a not quite as sharp turn that we just ignore? So we decided to hop into a call and manually check every single corner in Mario Kart 8 Deluxe for these things. 6 hours later, we had a list of almost 40 different candidates. Strangely, almost all of these were from the base game, with only 6 of them being on courses from the BCP. Most tracks on the list only had a couple of candidates, with the exception of 2. Unsurprisingly, one of these was Royal Raceway. The first potential AC was just the one from before, but on the very next turn, there's another. Now, there's a pretty obvious problem with this. It's kinda inside the wall. But this doesn't mean that it's completely impossible. This is a wall cross, and it's a glitch that allows you to clip through almost any wall that has a concave corner. And it just so happens that that's exactly what we have right before it. So Andy and I got to work on trying to get through it. Oh, and by the way, Andy's the one who discovered the corner hop, and he's by far the best at it, so if he can't do it, it's probably not happening. And sadly, it seemed like this might be the case. No matter what we tried, this wall would just immediately push us back out.
There might be 2
After
collisions.
a bit of investigation, I learned that there was actually another wall behind this grid.
Yeah, there's 2 collisions going on here. So you're clipping through the first one, but then you're bumping up against the second one, because you're not quite, the way that the clip works probably is you're too far out for this wall, but you're at the right distance for this wall. And if you're at the right distance for this wall, you're already inside this wall, so it's like, it's not going to work.
Which meant that even though we were getting through the first one, we would get immediately pushed out by the one behind it. And as we started testing the other ones, we began to realize that all of them had some sort of weird fringe case that would prevent us from getting it. Somehow, out of the 4 candidates we initially had, none had worked. But Royal Raceway wasn't the only track with a lot of candidates. The other was Sunshine Airport. Sunshine is a really weird course in terms of anti-cuts. For some reason, it seems like almost every major corner on this track has potential, but the one that really interested me was this one at the end of the course. Now, this one seems impossible at first glance. It's covered by walls and a lot of death planes, which are invisible walls that will trigger Lakitu when you hit them. But what if we came at it from the air? This also doesn't seem very promising because of this giant death plane that blocks the way, but there's actually a gap between it and the edge of the checkpoint, meaning that we may be able to get behind it without triggering it. But this is ignoring another problem, the building in our way. The AC is stuck inside this wall, but there's actually no collision above here, so if we could glide high enough, it might be possible to make it over this part, glide along the inside of the building, and then cut off the corner at the end. I was able to get behind the death plane pretty consistently, but I just couldn't quite get high enough to go inside the building. I tried different cart combinations, different ways of going off the glider, and even motion glider, but nothing worked, so I moved on. I tried the next 2 for a little bit, but they were both stuck pretty deep into these walls, so I gave up pretty quickly. The final group of 3 were all in the open, but they were over really large gaps. For the first 2, I just couldn't quite get the angle I needed, and for the final one, it didn't seem like I was going far enough. This needed a bit more testing, but I was getting really tired of time trialing Sunshine Airport, so I decided that I would come back to it later. The next AC that I decided to try was on DK Mountain. The AC is inside of this fence, which is covered in this invisible wall that stretches really far into the sky. There are no concave corners in this part of the wall, so it isn't possible to clip through with a wall cross. This meant that the only way to get behind it would be to go around at the top. I tried hopping at the lowest point right here, but it wouldn't let me up. Next, I tried mushrooming into the wall and hopped, which worked too well as I went flying off. I needed to be able to just barely make it onto the top and then stop. I tried driving into the wall without a mushroom and hopping, which almost worked, and after just a few more minutes of trying, I was able to make it on top. I tried driving into the grass, but there was another wall blocking me. And then, my cart stopped. There was a corner here. This might not seem that important, but remember that if you ever have a concave corner, you can generally get through the wall with a wall cross. This meant that the only thing I needed to do to get the anti-cut now was clip my back tire into this wall. I tried this, but immediately fell off the ledge. It took me a while to get back onto the ledge, but once I did, I tried it again with the same result. And this continued for the next few hours. I got really consistent with the hop up onto the ledge, and I even had a few times where my back tire clipped into the wall for a little bit, but it would always push me out immediately after. But after 4 hours of this, I gave up and went back to the list. There weren't any that immediately stood out to me, so we decided to do all of the less promising ones so we could mark them off our list. But that's when one caught my eye. GBA Mario Circuit. This one had been marked impossible pretty quickly, and it's easy to see why. It's inside this group of blocks, and while they don't look too tall, there's an invisible wall in front of them that stretches a lot higher than the visible part. So why on earth did I decide to look into this further? Well, it's because of this. The edge clip. This is another glitch that allows us to go through walls, but it's significantly more powerful than the wall cross due to the fact that your front tire is being clipped into the wall rather than your back. This allows us to go through walls whenever we want by simply hopping, negating the need for a corner. The only drawback to this glitch is that it requires you to be on top of something in order to clip through it, and as we've already established, there's an invisible wall here that would prevent us from getting onto it. But the wall doesn't actually start until here, so this entire part of the blocks is drivable. I was able to get onto the blocks via the boost ramp and then did an edge clip. I slowly moved to the right until I ran into this sign which stopped me. I thought this was going to be the end of it because I popped out, but surprisingly, when I got to the visible part of the sign, I was actually still clipped in somehow. I moved to the front of the sign where I encountered another problem, a 90-degree corner. We can't go around 90-degree corners while in an edge clip, but I realized that I could hop onto here and get inside. From here, it's again possible to get into an edge clip state using a trick called a spin clip, but from here, it refuses to let me transition back to the blocks, and I couldn't figure out any way to get into the blocks from inside it, so this AC was a bust. And at this point, there were pretty much no more ACs that I could see happening, until a day or two later when I saw that Manfredi had added a couple new candidates to our dock. There were a couple of ones that I had somehow missed, but nothing that seemed very likely. But then, I noticed Music Park. You see, I hadn't actually missed Music Park when I had gone through the tracks earlier. I had actually noticed that this looked like a really good AC spot. But the reason I didn't include it was because of this death plane that covers it. I was a little surprised that Manfredi had missed the fact that Lakitu would pick you up, so I went onto the Music Park checkpoint map to make sure I was thinking about the correct corner. And sure enough, there was a death barrier here. But then I got closer and realized that the death barrier actually ends a tiny bit before the anti-cut spot, which meant that if I could thread the needle here, an AC might actually be possible. I got onto Music Park and realized that there was a fence covering the spot that we would need to jump from. There is a spot just before this that is open, but it didn't seem like a decent angle to jump from, but I decided to try anyway. So I started changing angles, cart combinations, starting spots, jumping from different places, and tweaking so many tiny variables for hours. And just when I was about to give up, this happened. I had done it. I had finally found another anti-cut. This one had almost no chance of being done shroomless, but it was an incredible feeling to get this.
I think we've watched enough of this. We've watched almost all of it. If you want to watch the end of it, I'll let you guys go onto it yourself. But a fascinating and honestly, to me, would sound like a frustrating process. But yeah, some people do this kind of stuff. They find the games that seem like they're pretty polished and unbreakable and find ways to break them just for the fun of it. Spending literally hours on the same thing trying to get it to work. I just don't have the patience. I don't have the patience for that kind of thing in my own life. Finished soundtrack. Oh. blatant self-advertisement, but you already clicked the last one, so why not follow through? So I completely forgot to post this when the stream was announced. We probably soundtrack. So last time, all right, let's. Oh, I should have middle clicked. Wait, no. All right. Yeah, let's go back. Okay. Oh, it allowed me to go back. Cool. Oh yeah. All right. So this is crushed. Ah. Yeah, this is by Drake. This is by our tiniest Drake. Known by their musical name as Lemon Tea. I like that name. It took months, but I finally made my first upload on Bandcamp. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, fair enough. Freaking awesome. Yeah, seemingly, yeah, as you were saying, as they were saying, seemingly ultra short. There aren't really any ultra shortcuts in Mario Kart 8. Or was it you that was saying? Yeah, it doesn't have ultra shortcuts. So it was you saying it, sorry. Yeah. This is a cool track. I like it. Curious to see what this is, what like the context of this song would be, like what game it would be for. There's a weird things that happened a few years with a glider with a motion control. Oh, so that's why they brought that up. That's why they mentioned the motion cart, as like another test that they tried with that previous one, with that very first one. Interesting. But yeah, no, that was cool. That was really cool. Currently only Bandcamp posts. Yeah. I could imagine that being either like menu music for a video game or. This would have been a really cool moment had it not been for stream lag. Ah, was it laggy? Ah, yeah. That's. I'm sorry. That's. Yeah. Yeah. That's. Oh, that sucks. I have to watch the playback and see if it's. I have to watch the playback and see if it's completely ruined by the lag or not. Because honestly, that, oh my god, Jesus, because that really sucks. Yeah, that's why I was debating like trying to reset my computer and see if that would fix something. Because I think resetting my computer one previous time seemed to fix it, but it's never a permanent fix, and sometimes it doesn't do anything. Oops, sorry. I've got a tiny little gap in my mustache. It sometimes shows. If I'm if I'm... Anyway. May just be my horrible internet. No, the stream is losing frames periodically. So I've got to remember next time, before I next stream, I've got to reset my computer prior to the stream just to see if that helps. Because it has helped in the past. Not always, but at least once or twice before resetting my computer seemed to fix these problems. And again, it's one of those things where it's like, we're only 2 hours in. It's tempting to reset my computer, but if I do, I know that YouTube's going to split it in two. You're going to try and split the stream in two. Which I hate. I hate it when it does that. So let's just continue for now, but I do apologize for the previous one. Oh, I missed this one. Well, almost missed it. Wait. Oh my god. I'm probably gonna get copyright claimed for this song as well. Me, 27 seconds after spotting a person, 0.81 miles per hour over the speed limit. I just like the... just like the crazy intense. What the fuck? Alright, Chinese bus driver scaring the shit out of travelers. Oh my god, it's so... the bit rate. Oh my god. Don't behave this way, yeah. Of the vehicle. This guy's a heckin' pro. Terrifying, but like super pro driver. Like going at this speed and these kinds of roads. That's terrifying. If you look at the world record, some of the track has glider and then they have ramp coming, but with motion control and you're still gliding if you try to trick it. Ah, random boost out of nowhere. Oh, I think I've seen that actually in a different Mario game. Maybe it is Mario Kart 8. I don't know. I've seen something like that in a video before. He's late for his daughter's recital. Or some shit like that. He's like, he's desperate to take a shit. And so he's driving like crazy. Meth combustors.
Next up, on Discovery Chanel. Today on Meth Combustors. We test the limits of our elongated nuts via cock and ball torture practices. Adam, don't put cock in acid. Bad for penile. Oh fuck! Help! I've fallen down! Myth. Confirm me dead. Gas makes bone big. BRB going for a showing. I'm very refreshed. Now, on Myth Farmers. Mongolia. Viewer discretion is advised. Kidney failure. I just shit my pants. Delicious. Hello, people, and today we're gonna bust myths that no one really asked for unless you're high. Fucking Photo Bucket brought us no more mouth. Myth bust. Today on Myth Confirms, what happens when I plant a C4 bomb under Jamie's car? Can't wait to go home and see the wife and kids. No, James, that's a stupid idea. Myth has to confirm this. We're going to see if this Tesco meal deal is really £3. Damn. 13 cents off a lasagna. Let's whiff it. Jamie, you blew up the trunks! Why, Jamie? I'm high. Nutbusters. Myth. Gangster Mario. Fucking, I don't know, plausible. We test if you can sexually abuse a Toyota AE86 straight up. 11. If I don't bust a myth in 5 minutes, I'm going to die. Right. We're gonna kill God. I'm Jamie Hyman. And I'm Adam Sav. And today we strap a bottle rocket to a go-kart. There are federal agents outside my house. Piss. Myth confirmed. Adam, I pissy pants. Gonna take a proper shit, mate. Myth. And now, a moment of silence for Grant Imahara. May you rest in peace. This lovely man.
It's just one of those videos that it's just like, what the fuck did I just watch? Peak gameplay. Mostly just gameplay or stuff you've probably seen, not really spoilers. Oh? Is it a video? Or is it just a... Wait, let's have a look, let's have a look. I was gonna say, it opened one of the things, but... Here we go.
What the hell?
I'm shouting because this fucked up infected motherfucker with guts hanging out of his mouth just spit a bunch of toxic snot at me. Not a bad reason.
Yeah. no, pause. What the? That one zombie did it like crazy. Flip-flopping. But there's one track that's pretty broken on 200cc. Right. I'm assuming, yeah, Mario Kart 8. I know I've seen a few tracks that... I've seen a few videos on Mario Kart 8 and, like, some of the antics that the, like, kind of... I want to call them the speedrunning community have discovered. Like, I saw the world record for... I'm back, I was... in your Poppy Playtime stream. Ah, right. You have a different username now. But yeah, the I've watched a video on Mario Kart 8 that was about the blued yourself speed run, where it's like you gotta get a blue shell and then blue yourself. You gotta hit yourself with the blue shell before, like, as soon as possible, in the shortest amount of time, which requires you to be last in a specific context, like right near the start of the round, and then get to first as quickly as possible, and then throw the blue shell right before you reach first place, so that by the time it deploys, you're in first, and then hit yourself with your blue shell. Crazy stuff. It's just excuses to my music. Yeah. For the 100th time, and so I'm gonna... Yeah, all good, Lennox. It is, it is late for you guys, so... Yeah, all good. Have a good night, Lennox. Yeah. Anyway, what's this? Wait, I might have missed the important part, because I looked away. Oh, was it that guy? But I mean, it was just a good look at what the gameplay is like. Yeah, cool. Oh, does it? Oh, when I back, it forgets that I've upvoted. Okay. But yeah, Tetris Effect connected. Area 5 Cosmic Horror, Phase 3 only. Reposting this because timestamp no longer work in Reddit. Right, yeah. Oh, right, so it's like, you've clipped it, so it's just the part you wanted me to watch? Okay, okay. I might just quickly F5 that. It has Huggy. Yeah. When I say puppy playtime, it has Huggy Wuggy, Mommy Longlegs, and Poppy. Yeah. Some of those pieces that you're dealing with are harsh. The freaking double up pieces. That's so rude. Very, very difficult. Right. Yeah. There are videos where you can run the blue shell the entire 3 laps. Holy crap. ADHD ass could not pay attention while playing this. Yeah. I think I would be the same. I sometimes struggle when there's lots of distraction. There's lots of other stuff going on. I get very like phased out, phase brain. Wait, did? Oh yeah. Didn't quite make it. Oh, being revived by the CPUs. Areas 2 through 4 also move the playing field a lot more than 1 to 5. Yeah. I was gonna say, that's what I've noticed with these, is the sliding up and down, like, play screen, play field, or whatever you want to call it. That would throw me a lot. CPUs are kind of amazing. They're so fast and so accurate. Okay. Sometimes they make weird choices, but they're so fast. The boss isn't as fast as the CPUs are. Oh, hang on. The survival phase requires all 3 players to be alive, otherwise zone does damage. Oh. Damn. Instant kill. You can turn off the matrix movement in the game's graphical settings. Ah, okay, yep. Yeah, because that might actually mess with my eyes if I played it too long. With that setting on. The constant drifting. Yeah. I do think this game is visually super beautiful. One of those games that... It's the kind of game that I would have thought would come out on PS3. Not saying that because of the old, but because PS3 had a lot of games that style where it's like designed to be just graphically really beautiful and like full of particle effects and stuff. Like games like Flower that came out on PS3, just designed to be visually stunning. But also Tetris is like a well-known IP, you know, a well-known excellent game in and of itself. But yeah. Yeah, one of those games where it's like you could just totally zone out and automate, you know, go into automatic mode in your brain, you know. Anyway, I might try this at some point. Real camera, lens, film. Oh.
So you've assembled...
Wait, pause it.
Assembled a scene in Blender and rendered it. Neat. That's a neat scene. That looks neat. Something is missing though, and I'm not talking about texture files. I mean something is missing from within you. You've become numb to the ease of digital creation, merely an empty vessel mindlessly assembling assets.
Welcome to the family!
Oh. You need deeper understanding. You need to make something that truly feels real. You need a challenge. Start with a dark box. Put a tiny hole in one side and a white screen on the opposite side. Position the Blender camera so it's facing the screen, and there, you've created a pinhole camera. It's super dark and noisy, so increase the samples, increase the exposure, and while you're at it, flip the image. Now we're getting somewhere. Add more samples. All of the samples.
You did.
There, you've created an image with a pinhole camera. Notice that at super high sample values, the denoiser starts to hallucinate detail where there is none. Where we're going, we don't need the denoiser. Get rid of it. Not bad.
But it can be better.
Look up tutorials to relearn the thick lens formula, calculate the shape of the lens you need, and then model it from highly subdivided itrospheres. Go insane trying to figure out why the light isn't refracting through it properly, and realize that filter glossy was set to 1 by default, which will automatically blur caustics. Set that to 0. Figure out the effective focus distance you need and set up the box in the right place. We can lower the exposure now, but the edges of the image are super distorted. Turns out people found a solution for this in the 1890s, and they were kind enough to include all the relevant specs on this diagram. Copy all of that, model all the lenses, and put them in a tube. Put the tube at the front of the box and experimentally figure out the effective focal distance. Render it. Nice detail, but realize that the field of view for this lens is much narrower. Adjust the size of the fake camera inside the real fake camera. Adjust the aspect ratio so you can get more picture in your picture. Adjust the scene and render it again. Nice. Now contemplate how far you've come, but also how much remains to be done. This is the point of no return. Do not look back as any semblance of reason is stripped away, replaced with a need for more. Create a new glass shader which continuously filters different colors of light at different angles, accounting for the non-linear nature of the relationship and calibrating it carefully. Tell yourself that the noisy result is okay because you'll just render it with a lot more samples later. Simulate an imperfect lens by mixing in a small amount of rough refraction. This results in the natural bloom effect coming entirely from the lens glass itself. Use a principled BSDF shader to allow for some reflection as well. Set up 3 render layers, each with different filters to simulate the 3 emulsion layers in film. Calibrate the color spectrum filters so they're not giving you negative colors or overlapping too much, and combine the 3 render layers in the compositor. Enable dispersion. Realize it's too noisy and takes too long to render. Get rid of the dispersion shading made. Model the characteristic curve of film for each emulsion layer. Create a script that renders the image in separate tiles. Create another script that puts all the pieces together for you. Simulate halation using filters that add extra light through rough transmission shaders. Determine various effective focal distances. Plot that data and derive a formula describing focus plane distance with respect to lens position. Put all the components into a smaller box. Improve the geometry of the lens tube. Create a model for the camera body. Include a viewfinder camera. Give it some nice materials and branding. Create a focus ring and an aperture ring. Model aperture blades. Use drivers to make the lens and aperture blades move when their respective rings are rotated. Add a thin filter in front of the viewfinder camera to darken the viewfinder's camera view to be approximately what the final image will look like. And finally, create an exposure dial and use a driver to link it to the exposure render settings.
Like,
Now
why?
you can increase the resolution, increase the number of samples, and all that's left is for you to go render some virtual photographs.
I mean, the results do speak for themselves. That's an amazing render. Size might wash my face for a bit. All good, all good. Oh, ending message. I'll have to go back and have a look. I don't think I saw it. But yeah, no, this... Yeah. If you want to make it look like you're taking a real photo of something, yeah, this is a really effective setup. Because they provide a... Download the camera. Yeah, they provide a download even for the camera. Oh, and hit up again. Just wanted to say hi. I hope you're doing well. Yep, all good. Thanks for joining me, Dominic. I'll catch you next time. Good luck with your life at the moment. Good luck with Police Academy and good luck with World of Warships. Yeah. No, cool video. Really liked that. And that is a really interesting like process to go through. Really interesting making lenses in Blender to alter the image. Fascinating. Crap, there was something I was gonna do. Oh right, yeah. We'll just quickly go back to this. So I'm assuming it's post results. Connected mode clear. Oh yeah, pause if you want to read this. Yeah. The void is vanquished and order is restored, or order restored to all existence. You have fulfilled your duty and truly earned the title of Guardian. But there are still others out there who have yet to find salvation. For their sake and for the sake of your own, or your ultimate potential, let the journey continue. Yeah. Cool. Actually, I don't know why that reminded me. Something else I thought about doing for this stream was I've been playing the Bedrock event for Minecraft for the movie coming out. I actually have been trying out some of those events that they do for Bedrock Minecraft recently because they're kind of fun. They're kind of interesting, kind of fun. Just like a little temporary thing. Oh, and I haven't tried the April Fool's update. April Fool's Day. I saw what the update was. I haven't tried it myself yet. And I haven't tried all the new features of modern Minecraft yet, either. I haven't tried a happy ghast. Making a happy ghast yet. A fun project. Oh.
First.
Wait.
First, get a rock. Then, smash the rock. Now, you've got 98% concentrated silicon dioxide. Now purify it to 99.9% pure silicon dioxide.
My shoes untied.
99.9999999%
I'm not even wearing shoes.
polysilicon metal. Put the polysilicon ingots into a crucible. Heat the silicon ingots to 1698 degrees Kelvin. Take a small seed monocrystal and dip it into the vat of molten silicon. Slowly pull the crystal out as it cools. Now, you've got a monocrystal of pure silicon. Next, cut the monocrystalline silicon ingot into thin slices. Now you've got pristine, freshly cut silicon wafers. Dope it with some boron or phosphorus. Put photoresist on the wafer. Take your chromium-etched photolithographic quartz mask and shine a laser beam through it onto the wafer. The shadows produced by the photomask will control the location of highly localized chemical reactions on the surface of the silicon wafer. Now develop the photoresist. Acid etch the exposed parts of the wafer. Wash away the leftover photoresist. Now do some homoepitaxy, heteroepitaxy, pseudoepitaxy, diffusion doping, copper interconnects, chemical mechanical polishing. Now you've got a finished silicon wafer. Cut your silicon wafer into pieces. Now you've got unpackaged silicon dies. Locate the pads on the silicon chip and attach bond wires, or use the flip chip method. The bond wires provide an electrical connection between the pins on the chip package and the pads on the silicon die. And that's how you make a C.
Yeah. I thought that might be like about it was even though I missed a brief moment at the start, I believe I detected that it was probably going to be an April Fool's thing the moment he was dipping a crystal into molten silicon. I was like, ah, yes, this is probably an April Fool's Day video. Well, wait, but that came out... This was posted 24 days ago. And maybe it's not an April Fool's Day video, but just like a silly video. It was April Fool's was just the only like 5 days ago. TP's missed in CSA speed level 20. Okay. I'm gonna middle click that. Oh, I was gonna say chat. I thought it said clip is not available.
Yes. Who's this blank character? Crushing it. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. Oh, no, wait, that wasn't a line clear. They missed the T-piece. Jules wins by 59 points. Literal pushdown points. We got it. It's in the bag. We got the pushdown victory. Love to see it. Love to see it.
Was it just that it was going too fast and they missed it?
Was that actually just pushdown points? I think it was. Yeah, because we have 20 points for Blank and...
Yeah,
is Blank using DAS? It looks like it is DAS. Who's this blank character? Crushing it. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. Oh, no, wait, that wasn't a line clear. They missed the T-piece. Jules wins by 59 points.
Damn.
Literal...
Yeah. Ruined their whole run, I'm assuming. Alright. Evil Mastermind. Oh. I know this exact clip. It's from a TV show, so I'm almost certainly almost certainly would get copyright claimed if I actually showed it. But it's the clip from Mitchell and Webb where they're like... Oh, wait, is it the clip? Actually, no, it's not the one I thought it was. I thought it was the Mitchell and Webb clip where they're like... David Mitchell is like, are we the bad guys? One second, I'm gonna open this up and I'll watch it in my own time. Cause yeah, I think a straight up TV show clip. I can't justify watching it live. Ooh brother ooh, what's that brother meme?
Brother, what's that? What's that, brother?
So this is where it comes from. What is he oohing to? I want to know what he's oohing at. What is he oohing? Anyway, what really happened that day? This is 17 minutes, so I probably can't watch the whole thing.
For nearly 2 decades, gamers have been asking one simple question. Where the hell is Half-Life 3? What started as a meme has turned into a genuine mystery.
We were there.
Is one of gaming's
well, at least I was there. I know what's happened. Well, I'm pretty sure I know sort of approximately what's happened.
Influential franchises, redefining storytelling and immersion with each entry. Yet despite its massive success and a ending,
right now.
Valve has never delivered a continuation. It's been over 15 years since we last saw Gordon Freeman. But why? Well, today we're breaking down exactly what happened. Valve's internal struggles, failed prototypes, and the leaks that revealed the Half-Life 3 that almost was.
Next to my desk. Just feeling a little
Development
bit
on Half-Life 2 began in June of 1999, just 6 months after the release of the original Half-Life. From the start, Valve aimed to redefine the FPS genre. Company president Gabe Newell made their ambitions clear, stating, "Why spend 4 years of your life building something that isn't innovative and is basically pointless? If Half-Life 2 isn't viewed as the best PC game of all time, it's going to completely bum out most of the guys on the team." Unlike most studios, Valve had no strict deadlines. Newell granted the team a virtually unlimited budget, even promising to personally fund development if necessary. This creative freedom would allow Half-Life 2 to push boundaries, but it also set the stage for the perfectionism that would later plague future titles. Despite internal delays, multiple rewrites, and a major source code leak in 2003, Half-Life 2 finally launched in November of 2004, and it was definitely worth the wait. Just as Valve set out to do, Half-Life 2 did in fact redefine the FPS genre. With its advanced physics engine, cinematic storytelling, and AI-driven gameplay, it received near universal praise, earning a 96 on Metacritic and selling over 12 million copies. It wasn't just a great sequel, it became one of the most influential video games of all time. With this level of success, a third game seemed inevitable. But rather than a full-on sequel, Valve took a different approach, one that would ultimately leave fans waiting for nearly 2 decades.
Yeah, honestly, that their decision to switch to episodic gaming is kind of the reason we never got a conclusion. Because they went from, making like blockbusters, if you will, like big hits of games, to them wanting to make, like, not wanting for players to have to wait as long. And so they'll make shorter, more compact experiences. But we know now that it didn't solve that problem. They started making shorter things, but those shorter things ended up taking just as long as a big thing, and with people less satisfied with the outcome of those things. So it went from like everyone, like Half-Life 2 was this big deal, this big release, like 10 out of 10, everyone loved it, and it was like a game that was universally appraised, to episode 1 being kind of like meh. People not really caring that much about episode 1. People cared more about episode 2, I think, but episode 1 was kind of like eh. And so suddenly going from like Half-Life 1, big smash hit, Half-Life 2, big smash hit, episode 1, meh. It's not the reception they were hoping for.
Rather than following a traditional release model, Valve embraced episodic gaming, a new approach to storytelling where shorter, commercially released installments would continue a larger ongoing narrative. Now, Valve chose episodic content for a few key reasons. First and foremost, Half-Life 2 took nearly 5 years to develop, and Valve wanted to avoid another massive wait for fans. Episodic games meant shorter development times and more frequent content drops, with Gabe Newell saying, "Rather than waiting 6 years for another monolithic release, we can deliver smaller, more focused experiences much more quickly." Changing to episodic content also allowed Valve to experiment with a new development model, that being games as a service. Now, I know in today's day and age, the term games as a service will give most gamers PTSD, but in the early 2000s, this was a novel far less malicious term. If Valve were to embrace a games as a service model and release episodic content, then it would allow them to iterate and evolve their game based on player feedback. Valve wanted to get a jumpstart on this type of content, as they believed the games as a service model was the future of single-player storytelling. And boy, were they right and so wrong at the same time. Instead of a full Half-Life...
No, they were right and wrong. Well, they were right in the sense that games as a service was a future that was upcoming. They were wrong that it was for single player games. It's almost entirely for multiplayer games. But I mean, there are games that come out. There are single player games that come out in an episodic format, but I would argue that most people who want story-based games, maybe I'm talking out of my ass here, but I feel like most people who want story-based games want big, like, I much prefer, I guess, again, this is just me talking out my ass. I personally greatly prefer movies to TV series. And I greatly prefer single big story games than drips and drabs of story over time. Like, even games that are episodic, I tend to wait until all the episodes are out before I play them, and then I play them all at once. And so the episodic nature of them is pointless. Like, the Life is Strange is a great example of that. When Life is Strange was coming out, I had heard about it, and I was really interested in the concept, but I didn't play it until all 5 episodes were out. And I played all 5 episodes together. I feel like episodic games, I mean, they're fine, they have their place, but I much prefer when a game is just one big cohesive thing. I also don't like it, this is a me thing. I prefer when a developer has a really specific story they want to tell, and they tell it all at once. So, for instance, as much as I know this game has a sequel now, but at the time, The Last of Us was, in my opinion, a masterpiece of storytelling. Gameplay-wise, it was kind of, yeah, I'm one of the rare people who will say, who personally says that, I think that The Last of Us's gameplay is overrated, the first game. I think the gameplay is average at best. It's cookie cutter, it's milquetoast, the story is what everyone loves about The Last of Us. And the story was a masterpiece of a story. The Last of Us Part 2 improved on the gameplay. But I remember when I first heard that The Last of Us 2 was coming out, I was annoyed because The Last of Us felt like such a cohesive, singular story. It didn't need any development beyond that. They actually ended up knocking it out of the park with, in my opinion, with The Last of Us Part 2, but so many stories people tell, they tell them, they're like, I'm going to tell the story and I'm going to break it into 3 pieces. So you get like this first chunk of story and then you want more, but you're left wanting more because the story isn't over. And what often happens with those kinds of stories is that you end up with, if you're planning a trilogy, you end up with a second installment that is very weak, because it's not the start of the story and it's not the conclusion of the story. It feels like filler. And then if you have a duo of movies, the duo is better, but still you end up with one of the movies lacking because of the fact that you have to avoid, usually it's the second movie that suffers, because you have to set up all the premises in the first movie, and so you get all this interesting setup. And then the second movie has to still be a functional movie. It can't just be all payoff. So you get this weird awkwardness at the start, where the start of the film has to kind of reintroduce things, because, who knows how long it's been since you played the first one, or seen the first one, or there's just, it sort of stumbles or trips at the start, usually. Not always. Some sequels are amazing. Some planned sequels are amazing as well. Sequels tend to be better, in my opinion, when the initial story was final, was fully complete in itself. I prefer when even in a TV show, if a TV show has a core idea if they do the one season of this show and they finish that core idea, I much prefer that to a series that goes on for 8 series, 10 series, 10 seasons or something, and by the 4th, you're like, why the fuck am I still watching? Because yeah, that was the TV show Dexter for me. Dexter's first season was excellent, in my opinion. The second season was okay. It was not bad. The third season, I think, was better than the second. But then the 4th season, it just went like way down. The very first episode of season 4 is where the series should have ended. But anyway.
Valve planned a 3-part expansion, continuing Gordon Freeman's story, telling a continuous story in manageable chunks.
You like the channel name for this?
Half-Life 2 Episode 1 in 2006, Episode 2 in 2007, and Episode
Shane,
3
please shut
in
up.
2008. Each episode would build upon the last, leading to a natural progression of the overall story. At least, that was the idea.
Yeah. If they had decided not to go ahead with episodic content, oh my god. There it goes. If they decided not to go ahead with episodic content, we probably would have had a Half-Life 3 well before now. Like, well before we ever got Half-Life Alyx. Imagine the trajectory of Valve if they had not decided to do episodic content. I can't even visualize it.
Early signs of trouble began with the release of Episode 1. Valve had never developed an episodic game before, and figuring out how to make a smaller, standalone experience while maintaining high quality took much longer than expected. They had to adjust their workflow from a monolithic development cycle to a faster, iterative model, which they struggled with greatly.
Yeah.
While developing Episode 1, Valve wanted to improve Source Engine features, including upgraded facial animations and AI. They also used Episode 1 as a teasing ground for dynamic lighting, new NPC interactions, and physics puzzles, which led to multiple delays. But the issues were more than just technical, as the original story for Episode 1 kept being reworked to ensure it stood on its own while setting up Episode 2. Originally, Valve planned to release Episode 2 just...
See, that's the problem, is you end up so fixated on setting things up for the future that that you struggle sometimes. Like, that can often be the struggle, is like because you're planning it for the future, because you're planning for a future that you don't always know where it's going. Episodic content, or planning a media thing to be doled out in installments, it's way more complicated to get this, like, to get the story flow right. And I feel like Episode 1 and Episode 2 are a good example of that. And a great example of why I hate it when series plan to have a certain size off the bat. Like, I guess in this case, they plan to have Episode 1, Episode 2, and Episode 3. With Episode 3 being kind of like the ending, seemingly like the plan to be the ending of that episodic series. But by doing that, they put themselves in the scenario where if things don't work out, you don't get the ending. We never got the ending. That happens with a lot of TV shows and stuff, where it's like, they plan to tell the story over the course of several seasons, and then the show gets cancelled. Like Firefly got cancelled after its first season, so we never got to see the end of the TV show, of the TV series Firefly. I know they released a movie, I've never seen it. But the TV show had so much going for it. But because it was a TV show, and it got cancelled after the first season, we're never going to see, what could have been. I can fart all I want. Except that you're the one farting. It says so on the screen. Surely.
6 months after Episode 1, meaning late 2006, with Episode 1 being a shorter, more linear expansion of Half-Life 2, about 4 to 5 hours long. Episode 2 was intended to be much bigger and more open-ended, featuring larger outdoor environments, a first for the series, more vehicle-based gameplay, leading to technical challenges, and a more emotionally driven story. especially around Alex and Eli. But the thing is, Valve kept expanding the episode, turning it into a larger game than originally planned. Alongside this, Valve wanted to showcase their significant source engine improvements, as well as bundle the episode inside the Orange Box, a game collection containing Portal, Team Fortress 2, and Half-Life 2. Since Portal and TF2 were still being developed, Valve delayed Episode 2 so all 3 games could launch together in one polished package. Unlike traditional game studios, Valve had no publisher-imposed deadlines, meaning they could be perfectionists and constantly tweak and improve their games. Yet this led to their own downfall. In the end, Episode 2 was delayed because Valve kept increasing its scope, upgrading the engine and bundling it with the Orange Box. These delays contradicted the entire point of episodic content. Instead of fast, frequent releases, Valve was now taking traditional game development timelines for smaller installments. This killed the overall momentum for Episode 3, and by the time Valve was ready to work on it, their priorities had shifted elsewhere. After the release of Episode 2 in October of 2007, fans expected Episode 3 to follow within a year, as Valve had promised. But 2008 came and went with no news. Then 2009, then 10, 11, 12. By this point, Valve had stopped talking about Episode 3 entirely. So what happened? Valve had intended for Episode 3 to conclude the story arc started in Half-Life 2, but they weren't interested in simply making more of the same. Unlike Episode 1 and 2, Valve wanted Episode 3 to be truly groundbreaking. The problem? They had no idea how to do that. Valve's development culture was built on experimentation and iteration, meaning that if they weren't fully convinced an idea was innovative enough, they would scrap it and start over. This constant self-imposed pressure.
I feel like we don't need to watch this. We know what this is. Yeah. It started with the points I mentioned, and then he also mentioned the struggles with episodic content. First of all, the decision to go episodic, then the struggles they had with episodic. And then it proceeded to be that, they wanted to end the trilogy of episodes, but it needed, for them to be satisfied, it needed to be groundbreaking, a groundbreaking, conclusion. It needed to be this big, epic conclusion. And due to the fears brought on by the episodes, and their prior big success with almost everything else they've made, it led to them doubting everything. And so many different projects started as Half-Life 2 Episode 3, or Half-Life 3, and just never came to be. Like, they started development, got somewhere, and then people lost faith, or people gave up, or people decided it wasn't worth it, and it got shelved over and over and over again. And then we led to the point we're led into the point where there was also alongside that, I guess you could say, there was the whole fact that the Valve went into the time zone that they refer to as the wilderness, where basically like all projects ended up in that same category, where almost everything they tried to make, any group tried to make, kept getting shot down by certain groups, certain members of Valve. Nothing was good enough. Nothing was going to make the company money. Nothing was good enough to pass their standards. And so, game after game after game ended up getting shelved or just like given up on, I suppose. And then eventually COVID happened. Well, no, eventually Half-Life Alyx, like the VR stuff happened, and Half-Life Alyx began development, and that was finally like something groundbreaking. Like VR, a big new step in technology. They had Source 2 that they've been working on. And so, like, all focus went into Half-Life Alyx instead. And that was based on a concept that was in a VR test game thing. Yeah. At the time, to be fair, at the time, they had been working on the VR stuff. But there were so many games that they were making that got cancelled. Through the VR stuff, they had that VR test game that was basically a an on-rail. It was essentially an on-rails shooter, but in VR. And they used Combine Soldiers to like shortcut development. They just used the Combine Soldiers from Half-Life 2, used the same kind of AI that they already had. And it turned out to be really, really fun to shoot at Combine in almost like a firing range kind of setup. And that snowballed into Half-Life Alyx. And I was extremely lucky that got past all the checks, all the balances, managed to get through to being developed. And that came out, what, 2020? Or was it 2019? HL Alyx. 2020, yeah, right at the start of COVID. And then apparently during COVID, right after they released Half-Life Alyx and during COVID, it became clear what was going on. Apparently, the people trying to make games but kept getting shot down were hard workers, and the people doing the shooting down, the people oppressing, we're just sitting around on their asses not doing anything and just shitting on everyone else. And so during COVID, it really highlighted that disparity where there was like this subset of Valve who were like really trying to make stuff and make cool stuff, and there was this other side of Valve that was like sitting on their laurels, not doing anything, and just shitting on projects and not allowing anything to pass muster, past their standards. But during COVID, them not doing anything became really obvious because everyone was working from home, had to, send all their work whenever they were working on something. They'd have to commit stuff to the networks, and those commits became basically proof that you were working from home. And all the people who were just sitting around shitting on other projects suddenly had no commits to anything. They had no proof that they were doing anything at any work. And so quickly things turned around, and that's why Valve is actually doing stuff now. They're actually making shit. Because all the people who were the toxic assholes are either no longer working at Valve or had to get their shit together and actually start making stuff instead of just sitting around shitting on other people's stuff. So yeah, that's where we are now. Valve is back to actually making stuff again. Yeah. Anyway, Wandering Trader jump scare.
No way you got walks on to voice Ramsey in the Verka video, man. I asked him jokingly and he just said, yeah, sure. 10 for... What the fuck?
He just spawned out of nowhere.
That
literally
scared the
spawned in front of him.
No, 10 for...
Literally just boonk. What the heck? Player 3 barely topping out before zone fully activates. Okay.
Burn. Alright, what's the move? No, Tito! No! Got a little too ambitious with that single zone and wanted to bring the best they could against Twiz. They respect Twiz. That was out of respect to Twiz. That team was like, I need to be all the way at the top here. Alright.
Wait, I gotta go back and have another
burn. Alright, what's the move? No, Tito! No! Got a little too ambitious with that single zone and
They must have... I'm not sure how the game works in that context, but they must have been trying to trigger something and just pushed it a little too far. I accidentally topped out. I made Pentamino Tetris to prove it sucks. Oh. Oh, as in 5-block Tetris. Oh.
Pros and cons of Tetris using pentaminos. Pros. It's easy to make the pieces turn because most of them have a middle point. Cons. It's just the pieces. They suck. Now this video assumes you already know what pentominoes are. Well, I won't be doing that. So pentominoes are just the shapes you get by joining 5 squares edge to edge. Similar to tetrominoes found in Tetris, which are made of 4 squares. I always had a love-hate relationship with pentominoes because while tetrominoes are just perfect, pentominoes are so close yet so far. I mean, what is this? What is it? Tell me what it is. But at the same time, if Tetris is such a neat game, then pentominoes must be close, right? So, can it be done? Now while there have probably been many people who thought about making Tetris with pentominoes, we'll be assuming this is the first one, and we also won't be googling this. Now first of all, what is pentomino Tetris? Basically it's Tetris, but instead of the usual pieces, we just use pentominoes. Except by using pentominoes as your pieces, you immediately make Tetris much worse of a game. There are too many pieces to keep track of now, and they're all unintuitive. And you will mess up. And just when you mess up, you'll get a piece like this and stop playing the game altogether. What I want to do is, I want to slightly reimagine Tetris into a game that works with pentominoes. Basically, I have to make Tetris again, which in itself is a lot more annoying than it seems. But I'm gonna have to push a couple random buttons in
Insert Game Engine
and make it kinda sorta fun. First, the basics. So the Tetris board is normally 10 by 20 and the pieces are made up of 4 squares, the widest one being the eyepiece. Naturally, pentominoes are larger, which calls for a larger board. If a game with pieces made of 4 squares is played on a 10 wide board, proportionally, a game with pieces made of 5 squares would be played on a 12.5 wide board. It's a grid, so we have to round it to 12 or 13. Now 12 is a nice number, so I'm gonna go with 13 because I hate pentominoes. It's a prime number, and it's even considered unlucky sometimes, which is a plus. Unfortunately, it does help with pentominoes a bit because a wider board makes the game more playable, plus more pieces can be centered this way. I guess you can't make pentomino Tetris and play it. That's a joke, like a play on Can't Have a Cake and Eat It Too. I figured I should explain it because it's not obvious. Keeping with odd number theme, the height of the board is now 25. Not 26, which would be proportional with the original. We don't want that for some reason. Okay, the height is actually 28. Apparently in some Tetris games the board is bigger than what you can see because the pieces spawn outside and fall into the board instead of spawning inside it. There's actually more to this. Tetris pieces seem to spawn as horizontally as possible. I never knew this before, but it is useful. The spawn area also had to become 3 lines instead of 2 because pentominoes are larger.
Yeah.
I'm actually starting to understand pentominoes now, a little more at least. Could peace really be achieved though? Nope, not yet. See, the pentominoes are weird shapes, and because there are so many more pieces than normal Tetris, more often than not, you end up with 2 or 3 pieces that, when joined properly, mess everything up. Like, tell me, is this acceptable? Well, we have a couple tricks. The first is something that, in Tetris, is called the bag system. It basically means that instead of the game giving you a random piece, it creates a randomized list with 1 of each piece and then gives you the next one from the list. Now while this is just a quality of life feature in Tetris, with pentominoes this is much more important because there are now 18 pieces. The second addition is the ability to save a piece for later. This is also a feature usually found in Tetris, but here I decided to let the player save 2 pieces instead, and cycle between them. This is great because 1 extra piece is usually not enough in these trying times. There is also this counter now. It fills up as you clear lines. It's similar to the level system in Tetris, where you level up after clearing 10 lines. Except here, when it's full, it deletes a bunch of lines. This is slightly necessary due to the nature of pentominoes. They fill up the screen quicker than usual. Additionally, I thought of maybe mixing some normal tetrominoes in with the pentominoes, though I didn't really want to do this because it makes it not pentomino Tetris anymore. There are a couple games that already do this as well, like Multimino and Combinos, and it seems to be a nice concept.
And I noticed Tetris Effect does it as well. There was a brief period where I was noticing some of the CPUs were dealing with like pentominoes or pentomino, sorry, or hexominoes.
At this point, I'm actually starting to like pentominoes. There's something nice about them. They're tough but fair, like Tuco from the second episode of Better Call Saul. One last thing I did, which I should probably be cancelled for, is the flip. It is what you think it is. You can flip the pieces around to get their mirrored version. Now let me explain. In Tetris there are a nice 7 pieces, but there's 18 here, and half of them are mirrored. This simplifies the piece selection and adds a new twist. Turns out though this was a surprisingly bad idea. It somehow requires more thinking and less skill. I left it as an option in the game, but it's not recommended. I also added some small visuals.
I was gonna say, you can't flip them in regular Tetris, can you? Because that's the whole point. There's the L shapes that are only, you know, you can't like flip him and become the reverse L. And there's like the like I don't even the steps or the, you know, the zigzag lightning bolt, whatever you want to call them, pieces. Yeah, they would also be rendered less frustrating. Take the L, yeah.
Cool stuff. Such as an animation for the falling piece. Instead of the squares snapping to where they're supposed to be, they're given a target position and slowly move there. But here is the most surprising part. In Tetris there are a few satisfying moments like placing the eyepiece. With Pentamenos though, the pieces feel a lot more random, but you know what? There are also a lot more satisfying moments like this, or even this. So I decided to do something about this. Depending on how well you make your piece fit, the game lets you know that you did something cool. Because like Alexei said in the movie,
life is hard, and we deserve our small celebrations.
I forgot how much fun this is.
so I guess that's it. You can play Pentas? Really? We're naming it Pentas? Okay, you're on your browser right now
Tetris,
for
Pentas.
free. Why? What do you mean why? I don't know. Just play it, I guess.
I might try it later. First of all, just have a look, yeah. Pentas. But yeah, I'll give it a try off camera. Pentas. yeah, cool. Okay. It's the Banana Rorius Blood Moon. Oh. Giant red floating banana. Ah. Yep. It's the Rorius Blood Moon. That's fucking cool. A big red crescent moon. Yeah. Don't forget, we'll meet each other. So this series just ended this evening. Also, this video is a doozy. The game shown in Chapter 5 is beyond. Is beyond? I don't know what this is. But anyway.
Countdown was a very vague change.
Wait, okay, let's. This is the hour-long video that don't remember the T in Pentas. Yeah. This is the hour-long video you were talking about, right? At the start earlier in the stream. I'm just gonna refresh the page. I was gonna say I'll watch that in my own time because an hour-long video is too long. But we actually freaking caught up to the top of the for once. We made it to the top. Wait, how do I do this again? Is it this one? There we go. Add flare post. We made it to the top of the Reddit. I suppose technically speaking, I have time. But you know what? No, we're at the 3-hour mark. I used to always make these reaction streams 3 hours, so maybe this is it. This is a good point a good hopping off point. But yeah, I will check out this video, The Odyssey of Don't Forget, in my own time. Refresh. I did refresh. Oh, here we go. This is what I was talking about. Okay, we'll watch this one. Oh, it's the world record. Wait. I'll show I'll go onto YouTube so I can show the creator of this video here. Mario Kart 8 Deluxe Records. Movement in the Mario Kart games I've always found to be strange. Oh, there it is. There's the speed up. Because he's landing on his like side on the flight mode. Yeah. No, as I was saying, I've always Yeah, there it is. Again. I've always found the way that movement works in Mario Kart 8, which is the Mario Karts with the drifting, like that kind of drifting, super strange. I played Crash Team Racing, so I'm used to the drifting in Crash Team Racing, which feels much more like natural, I would say. I was gonna say, wait, he didn't hit the ending spot. Oh, this is. Have I watched this? Is this the one I watched? Yeah, I did. This is a good video. I'd recommend it. I love the Ratchet and Clank soundtrack, but yeah. Anyway, yeah, perfect. I'll also change this one to watched. Cool. All right. But yeah. Refresh one more time. God damn it. Last one, no more. Yeah, last one, no more. They're cutting it so fine. It's amazing. Oh, over there. Yeah, just like basically just pushing the physics to its limit, but also seemingly touching those spinning things is like a good thing. He's intentionally touching the spinning things. I assumed they were obstacles we were supposed to avoid. No one really discovered this last year. Right. That's wild. That movement with the glider is so crazy. Because it's like, it's just desperately trying to find a spot for the player to land on. And so it's just like... yeah. Oopsies. I think I clicked the... Yep, I clicked that. That's right. We'll set it to... watched. Alright. Cool. Just kidding. Yeah. Nah, I wasn't even going to, even if you did post something. But yeah. Well, thank you guys so much for joining me. I really appreciate it. And, as I mentioned in the announcement for the stream, I should have mentioned this at the start of the stream. Despite how long it's been since I last streamed, this coming week is the last week of our first term of school. So after this coming week, I have a couple of weeks off. I have a couple of weeks of break. So fingers crossed, nothing happens, and I can stream a few times throughout the holidays. You know, fingers crossed nothing comes up, and I have to, because I've basically left this holiday blank. I've got no plans for the holiday. So fingers crossed, I can stream a bunch more during these next 2 weeks. Not next week. The 2 weeks after next week. Yeah. But we'll see. We'll see how it goes. Because I know that at least one of the holidays I missed the whole first week because I was just recovering. I was so desperately recovering last year. But this year it shouldn't be as bad. I should hopefully be able to stream a bit more during the holidays this year. But yeah, I'll keep you guys updated as to how that goes. In the meantime, thank you guys so much for joining me. I'll catch you in the next stream, which should be next weekend. And yeah, stay tuned. Stay tuned for more stuff. There's a bunch of stuff that has been building up that I want to play on the channel, so hopefully a bunch of streams soon. Yep. See you guys. Bye. Until next time.